To Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfits. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, Q Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Another fine afternoon of sports talk in the Flower City queued up for you. We welcome you on into the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us and listening along locally at 95.7 FM. AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, your smart device. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, we've got our stream up on YouTube as well, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester. Like, subscribe, comment while you're there, or check out the stream on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Mike Danger. He's the birthday boy, Gene Battaglia.
Stop.
And right off the top, Gino, I got to say, you are the straw that stirs my radio drink. You didn't know I was going to do this, but I had the Dandalorian on assignment all afternoon to present the greatest hits of Gene Battaglia on his birthday.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Featuring the best of
Gene Battaglia.
Happy birthday to him.
I am in need of my vitamin C.
By the way, Jack is not a real name. You don't know.
That's a take.
No, it's not. Like, honestly, the name is Jonathan.
No, I'm not coming around on that.
No!
No. No.
Right?
No.
No! No!
No.
No! There you go, Rob!
No. No, they're not.
No. Oh, no.
No.
No. No. No.
No.
No.
No. No. Hold on.
Don't
Hold
even
on.
do that until
No,
Thanksgiving.
no. No, you're crazy, dude. No. Oh, no.
Mike Danger here, and then me, I come across like this. He's gone.
Wow. I can't explain to you why you don't understand the glory that is Bruce Springsteen.
No! Gene just assaulted a chair.
Where's Mr. Mouth, Faith? Where's Mr. Mouth, Catalana? I am Count Hesco. He's Leo. So the question is, Danger, when we bring in Mike Leone, do you fire up your favorite yacht rock song as an intro? Leo.
No, Lido.
Lido.
Lido Shuffle?
Oh, it's not
Lido.
Oh, it's not Leo.
No, it's not Leo Shuffle. You've lived your entire adult life thinking Boz Scaggs' classic was called Leo Shuffle?
Gene! I was saying Leo.
Gene! Lido! L-I-D-O, Lido!
What does Lido even mean?
I don't know! It's just jammer. I don't know what it means. I just know it's Lido, not Leo. Leo Shuffle? What does that even mean?
I am Master Stroke. Gene, you're Master Stroke Jr. You're right. I'll own it. Don't ever call me Master Stroke again. I will come in as Grimace that day.
I love it.
I'm not dressing up as Benny Mardones, if that's what you're asking. I'm putting up my hand across my heart. I will not hang up on Dan Fates today.
Because you were afraid he was going to give you a Go Braves.
I didn't hang up on him. I tried to cut him off and then to hang.
Yeah.
So, I'm embarrassed to kind of admit this. You mean to tell me Netflix and chill doesn't mean just going home and relaxing?
Wow. That is some fantastic work by the Dandalorian. Our bounty hunter, the finest audio in the galaxy on Gene's birthday. A tribute to Gene Battaglia.
Me saying no 50 different ways,
Lots
100
of
different
no's.
times. Yeah.
Lots of no's, but also some very, very high, some high points, some well-defined high points there.
Oh, yeah. Jack is not a real name.
That's a great take. I mean, that's one of my favorites of all time. If you're named Jack, it's not a real name. Everything you know is a lie if your name is Jack. That's not a real name.
I'd also like to point out, too, you know him, Frank Stamsky, great sales guy. Didn't know what Netflix and chill meant. It's
You
like,
guys
really?
are all square, man.
Did not know.
Just unbelievable. My wife didn't know. You didn't know. Stamsky didn't know. It's okay. It's all right.
There's a lot of us who don't
There's an
know.
entire generation of people. 54 today, right? There's an entire generation of people, probably 50 or so under and under, who know what Netflix and chill is slang for. But it's all right. It's all right. Gino, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you, Dan DeLorean, and thank you everybody that wrote to me today. Appreciate that, and yeah,
It's the day where you go on Facebook, and it's not that you dread going on Facebook, but Facebook feels like work because I don't know how you are, but like I feel like I have to catch up and see all of the birthday greetings as they come in. We're blessed, right? We have
We're
all
blessed.
these
And
people in our lives that want to wish you a good day, and there's so many names that you see like, oh, God, I almost forgot about that. It reminds you of how deep some of these friendships are, how long some of these friendships are.
That's it. Yeah, and sometimes there are people that reach out that listen to the show, and I haven't even met them. So
You just big timed them. I can't believe you didn't get any big timer talk in the montage. That's all right.
No, you'll appreciate this.
Oh no, not again. No, don't tell me you
no.
didn't big time another person.
No, I sort of did.
Oh, no.
But no, Kevin Roche let me off the hook for this. I was over the Red Wing office today, and there was somebody who works for the Red Wings and doing some part-time stuff at RIT and said, Gene, totally out of context, and I couldn't place him. So Roche said that is not big timing because even Kevin didn't know his name. So by not knowing somebody's name, but you
recognize them.
You recognize them, but I couldn't place them. Not big timing. But then Kevin has to tweet me happy birthday, big timer.
Brian, the big timer, called us last week to pile on Netflix and chill, and said that there wasn't any such thing as Netflix and big time. Well, you would have understood that if that was actually the phrase or the terminology. You would have known what that meant.
So a big time Brian, a big time Anna over the Amerks front office, that was pretty bad.
We've got a great show lined up for you. On Gino's birthday, no less. Michael F. Florio, who got some run on McAfee earlier today. That's funny.
We got to ask him, wait, what is the context here? Because they pull up his tweet. It's something about Saquon, and they're dissecting it, and Aaron Rodgers says that's not real. Like Michael F. Florio, that's not a real
He's not a real guy, yeah.
Not a real guy. Well, I can assure you, Michael F. Florio, friend of the show, is a real guy. He does work for the NFL Network, dishing out fantasy takes and advice. And if you need to get into the postseason,
if your postseason starts,
that's true.
Yeah,
some of them start. Yeah, most of them start actually. Then, be advised. Listen at 4:45 today.
We're going to check up on the Rochester Americans. Mike Leone, head coach, stopping by the sports bar right around 4:25.
Yeah, as the Amerks are up in Laval, coming off a good weekend, I would say, in Charlotte. So this is a team that, with Devin Levi, looks a lot different. I don't know how much we want to get to. He's not really going to comment on what's going up in Buffalo. Not much positive over there. So we just live in our little Amerk bubble here in Rochester, right?
Fine with that.
Yeah, we'll talk to Mike Leone coming up at 4:25.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, covering the Buffalo Bills, stops by in about 20, 25 minutes or so. And we'll continue our discussion from yesterday as we dissect the loss to the Rams. Some stuff that if you go back and look at some of the tape, a little bit alarming. And Sean McDermott's basically lying to you when he says that they're running their best play there, that goal line at first and goal from the one, because the play that they ran that they actually scored on the following play was not the same play that they had just run. So there's a little bit of confusion, a little bit of a lack of attention to detail, clearly, with this team at the end of games and in high-pressure situations.
Why is it every year the Bills give us one of these losses?
Well,
why is that?
It's the kind of thing that makes you start to believe that it's going to happen in the postseason, that it's going to cost them a chance to go to the Super Bowl, because we've seen it. This is not a trend. This is a symptom of the Buffalo Bills. It's a symptom of the head coach, whether you want to go back to 13 seconds, whether you want to talk about the Hail Murray, whatever loss you want to drum up, that when the Bills have lost in spectacular fashion, it's a detail. It's an attention to detail, poor clock mismanagement. You don't have to look back far. Week 5, the Texans, horrible management Horrible clock management,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you can pin it on Josh, but you're the head coach, and ultimately you get in the headset of your coordinator and your quarterback and say, this is what we're doing.
And I'll give him credit for this, and this is different this year. He is taking ownership of his mistakes. He is in press conferences saying, that's on me. I need to be better. I'm hearing it more this year than I've ever heard it.
Which he just turned 50. He's only figuring this out now. After 13 seconds, it was an execution problem. Like, is this not your program?
You have to take ownership.
You got to take ownership.
Own it when you make a mistake. We'll get into all of that with Matt Perino, the Syracuse Post-Standard. He's going to stop by. We have time for your calls as well this afternoon. Pull up a stool and join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Be our wingman at 866-4FAN, 866-4326, and enjoy award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. Good Smoke BBQ.com. And we may need one of our regulars to step up and play judge and jury, because it feels like we're drawing near the conclusion of our latest wager, the box wine bet.
Okay, so this is from reporter Ali Connolly, who he's not a big name, right? But he's on the UNC beat. And the way this is phrased, at first you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, I understand what he's saying now. Belichick has agreed to become the next UNC coach. Belichick handed the school a 400-page organizational Bible with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, etc., decisions on whether to commit with UNC. He's expected to know their decision in the next day. So basically what he's saying is, if this report is accurate, Bill Belichick, I'll become your next head coach if you agree to this.
Yes.
And hands it over.
And there's been rumors that they got to hand over the reins at some point to his son, right?
That's
that
also
Steve will
part of
also
this.
be the next head coach when Bill decides to step down.
Now, what has happened here in the last hour, Danger, is this. Because, all right, it's Ali Connolly. Like, where are these Schefters, Rappaport? Like, everybody should be so hungry. Like, you're kidding me. One of the top two coaches in NFL history is, I'm giving you your Bill Walsh pass. I would say Bill is actually going to take a job in college. Why aren't we hearing more about this? Why aren't we getting more reporting? What is going on? Well, there's a couple reports now that have leaked. Not leaked, but first from The Athletic. Diana Rossini. According to sources, Bill Belichick's move to UNC is not done. There are a few hurdles to overcome before this is finalized. New York Times, same thing, kind of along those lines with the Rossini report. So this is what I've been saying all along. I'd be shocked if he took that job at UNC. To me, this is nothing more than him sending up a flare in the sky. Hey,
I'm open for business.
I am open for business. And if you are an NFL team, we better start talking now. Something that stuck with me years ago was Ron Pitts came on our show. Who's Ron Pitts? Ron Pitts, former NFL broadcaster. Mm-hmm. His dad, Elijah Pitts, was the interim coach for the Bills, no longer with us, sadly. Ron Pitts was doing play-by-play, and Mike Martz was his color guy. And Pitts was describing to us at the time that other teams were reaching out to Mike Martz now, even though the season was going on. Like, wait a second, how does that work? No, you don't understand. When teams are getting ready to make changes, they're greasing the skids. They're reaching out. So kind of in that context, Danger, if you wanted Bill Belichick now, wouldn't you want to be kind of reaching out now in that regard? And there's one team I'm looking at. There's one team that if you Bill be our head coach, it would be the New York Giants. The New York Giants right now need a change desperately. Bill Belichick loves himself some NFL history. And that fan base, they would eat it up. Giant fans love Bill Parcells. That's the golden era. Never mind they won 2 Super Bowls with Tom Coughlin. Bill Parcells brought us to greatness. If you brought in Belichick, that would be 100% people all in unison saying that's the move.
Now, we made a wager, and I'm trying to remember my exact words. Somebody might have to correct me. I thought our wager on the box wine was he's not coaching an NFL team in 2025. We didn't really even entertain the idea of him coaching collegiately. I just said he's not coaching an NFL team in 2025. And I know that I leaned in on he's really good in the media and he's really good in his new job and he's enjoying it. You can tell he's having fun and he's probably going to continue to do that. But that wasn't part of the bet. The bet was, is he coaching? And unless I'm wrong, unless somebody heard differently, and Gino, I think you maybe are going to say that you heard differently because I know your mouth is watering for a little box of Pinot Grigio on your birthday. But I think I actually would not be surprised. I think if you're talking about college football programs moving forward, a new template has kind of been set as far as how you make your program relevant. And it's less about the players because they come and go, and they've been coming and going for a while. It's always been about the big brand name head coach. And it takes a while in college football to be Nick Saban. It takes a while in college football to be a legendary head coach. You need to be in that program for a long, long time. You need to have long, sustained success unless you're Deion Sanders. Then you just come in and all of a sudden your program is relevant. You're scooping up recruits and players want to come and play for you because you're a legend. And I think that's the route that UNC is smartly taking here with Belichick. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as the next coach of the Tar Heels football program.
Okay, couple things. One, I know better not to call you a welcher because you're a good friend, but you're like the lawyer presenting his case on why you shouldn't, and I don't have anything in writing. I always thought, look, the spirit of the bet was, is he going to be coaching next year or not?
Let me tell you something, Gino. You know I'm good for a box of wine over the holidays anyway. So one way or the other, you're getting a box of wine out of my collection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think just for the sake of the bet, I didn't even consider that he would think about coaching college. It was always NFL or not at all.
Listen, if somebody wants to be the jury, you can tweet at us, the fan Rochester. That's our handle on X.
Now, Dan DeLorean says he can maybe find the origin of the bet.
That would be the biggest bounty of the bounty hunter if he can find that.
Yeah.
He can also serve as the judge here. Are we comfortable with that, or is Dan comfortable with that role? If he says, nope, Gene, you lost the bet.
It's pretty neutral observer, but yeah, I think if he finds the original bet when we made it last, January, February? I mean, to answer why, he has to shoot up a flare into the sky to let everybody know that he's open for business and he's looking to take interviews. The NFL, in my opinion, is not interested in Bill Belichick. I have a feeling that these owners have a type. They all have a type. And the type that they have, because of the templates that have been set in the NFL, is young, attractive, hopefully from the McVay coaching tree or the Shanahan coaching tree, offensive-minded head coach who can do it because it's their first job. They're going to do it more affordably than the big name who's going to come with a heftier price tag and might not get the job done.
If this is Family Feud danger, you just listed all the reasons except the top one. The owner's in charge. You hire Bill Belichick. He's the one handing over the manifesto to UNC. I'm in charge. Okay? Wherever Bill Belichick, I'm sure that didn't go well with Arthur Blank and others. Owners, even Terry Pagula, that's the guy in charge. Bill Belichick at age 73 is not going to go in and listen to the majority of these NFL owners. The more I think why, I'm giving you a reason why this actually might happen, because I've heard it the other way, and I kind of believe the other way. He's not going to want to deal with NIL and boosters and all the crap. No, you hire somebody to do that and be your shield. He doesn't want to deal with an owner who can call him at any point or say, why are we doing this? You don't think that owners are – how many owners in the NFL today are really hands-off?
Right. Oh, my God. And then everybody wants to say a team like the Cowboys makes sense. Are you kidding me? You think he wants to go work for Jerry? He wants to go take orders from that guy? No way. No chance. The Giants, I'll hear you on the Giants, but I don't think the Giants – I think the NFL and NFL owners have their type. It's Ben Johnson. They wish every coaching cycle, if you could have 10 Ben Johnsons, that would be what every NFL owner wants. 10 guys that are young, that are up and coming, that have a track record of success in calling plays and running an offense. They can be your face. They can be your CEO. They're well-spoken and affordable because it's their first gig, and you can lowball them on their first gig. It's not Sean Payton. You're not paying a guy all this money because he won a Super Bowl to resuscitate your team, and he's done it. You could argue that he's worth it because he's done it, but I think every NFL owner that's going to be looking for a new head coach, they're going to be looking for a new head coach that will come in with their experience and do it at an affordable rate rather than breaking the bank for a guy who might not pan out. For every young, unproven coordinator that becomes a head coach and fails, think about the guys like Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl and has failed in Jacksonville. There's cautionary tales on both sides, and I think if all things are equal, they want the guy who's going to be cheaper and who's going to look good at a press conference, who can speak well and represent the team well at a press conference.
How much of this is Belichick feeling guilt? I can't assume this is what he's feeling about being a dad, because this has to factor in. Like, I'm going to set up my son here.
It's a pretty good setup.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good setup. And if you're a Tar Heel fan, I think you sign up for it, man. I really do. I mean, you've got that name now attached to your program for a generation if it all goes well.
I know the Tar Heels under Mac Brown there were okay, but now you're going to be a player for the national championship. You will. In the ACC, you mean to tell me within 2 years? I would give him year one.
But you've got Dabo Sweeney,
Please.
saying, no, I don't want to deal with NIL. No, we're not, like, not playing the game. And he's the one that's winning the conference. The guy who isn't playing the game is winning the conference. The guy that goes in there and does play the game and plays it better than everybody else and knows it better than everybody else, he should go in there within 2 years and win the ACC.
Listen, Syracuse is ahead of the curve on this. I give John Wildhack credit in there. They went out and got McCord, and that was a good land there. Now they got to figure out something else. And as we've talked to Wildhack, boy, they need more. You're just going to need more. If you have UNC, and they have deep pockets, Danger, but it's like Syracuse. It's a basketball school. Spare me. Like, yes, they've won games over the year in football, but they've never been a national contender. Part of me wants to see how this would look.
Oh, I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it would be a lot of fun. And instantly, you've made your program credible where it's been good, not great good. I mean, Mac Brown made it okay. But when you could go from Mac Brown to Bill Belichick, unbelievable upgrade. Unbelievable upgrade. And immediately, you're now in the conversation where you haven't been, even with Mac Brown. You haven't really been in the conversation. I think it'd be great.
But once the season starts, Danger, there's not like guys you can cut and pick up off the waiver wire, make trades or anything like that. So for Bill Belichick, he would have to change. There's no doubt about it. Not everything he used in his toolbox in the NFL would work.
But I also think as you get older, as we get older, and we're talking about this on Gene's birthday today, we at least I feel the need to mentor. I want to mentor more now than I ever have in my life. I want to share my experiences with the up-and-comers more now than I ever have in my life. And I wonder how much of that Belichick has in mind when he's talking about recruiting these players and preparing them for the NFL, because he knows what it takes to get to that next level. I mean, every coach is going to say that. Every program is going to offer that. But here's a guy who actually did it at the highest level. Are you going to say Belichick doesn't know what it takes to get to the NFL? What player or family would fight against that? I think, and if you're worried about his ability to recruit, just look at his girlfriend. He can recruit. Okay, Belichick is an elite recruiter. He will be fine when it comes to recruiting.
Wait, we can't use Nantucket anymore. What do you want to say, Outer Banks?
It's how to explore the Outer Banks, yeah. Matt Perito covers the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. We'll dissect the ending of that loss to L.A. We'll start to look ahead to Sunday's matchup against Detroit with Perino next on The Fan.
Sports Update.
Practice resuming tomorrow for the Buffalo Bills. First time since first weekend in October. The Buffalo Bills coming off a loss, and now it's a Super Bowl contender coming up next to the Detroit Lions. Sean McDermott on facing Detroit.
Very talented when you look at their roster, and I got it a few hours ago, just, their depth chart and their players, and very talented roster. They've done a great job putting that together, and, we're going to have a big challenge for us with that, and then also going on the road.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard and the Shout podcast, joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Syracuse basketball in action tonight. They host Albany. The Amherst go up to suburban Montreal tomorrow. They're at Laval. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone next hour here in the Sports Bar. Sabres have now dropped 7 in a row. They take on the Rangers tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us on The Fan. Thanks for checking out the stream on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. Welcome in Matt Perino, our buddy from the Syracuse Post-Standard, covering the Buffalo Bills. And Matt, you usually have defended Sean McDermott in the past. There's been questionable calls and questionable decisions made, and it feels like when the Bills lose, they lose in spectacular fashion. This one feels more so on Sean McDermott than some of these other losses that you could point. Well, they all ultimately fall on him, but why specifically was this loss on Sean McDermott in your opinion?
So I think there's a lot of nuance here. It's hard to do it in one, answer. And when I say that I've spent a lot of time defending Sean McDermott, I still defend Sean McDermott against a lot of people who, think that he should be fired and kind of downplay the success that the organization has had. But there continues to be these big-time moments and gotta-have-it moments when you watch your quarterback time in and time again. Obviously, the easiest example to pull is the 13 seconds game, where it just felt like in the fourth quarter, Allen was doing everything he could to will the team to a victory and to get that touchdown with 13 seconds left in the clock, and then to have it end the way that it did on multiple, messed up decisions. Yeah, he's got to wear those moments. And some of the pushback from my commentary on this was that there was a lot that happened in that game. The defense wasn't good. There was a block punt. Special teams let them down. All those things are true. But at 44-35 or whatever the score was there late in the game, a 9-point game at the goal line, the game is still up for grabs. You could still go and win that game. And in that moment, you're about to score a touchdown. You got 3 timeouts. You burn that timeout after the failed sneak. The game is all but over. You literally can't call that timeout. And what made it worse is when I tweeted that, I wasn't watching the broadcast. I was watching it from the press box. I went back after, watched the broadcast back. Tom Brady in real time
nailed it.
Is basically arguing against everything that Sean McDermott did. So I guess my big question is, and Sean's been asked this several different times, and he kind of, took a step back a day later and said, yeah, we probably take that. We wanted that timeout. We probably take that out of that situation in the future. So credit to him for at least admitting that. But you have to make those decisions in those moments, and you have to make them wisely and right in the moment. If not, you're going home, because these are going to be tight games over the next month. And you look at the Detroit Lions, you look at the Rams who you just played, the Philadelphia Eagles. If you even get to the Super Bowl, it's going to be the same kind of thing, probably another similar situation.
The thing that, many things I recall about 13 seconds, but one of them, okay, here's your season-ending press conference, and it wasn't me, it was execution he pointed to. I didn't at least hear that. Are we seeing maybe McDermott has kind of figured this out? Did you see any accountability at least from the head coach after this loss to the Rams?
Yeah, definitely a day later. Listening back to the press conference, again, a lot of people wanted to ask questions. I think there were some good questions that were asked. Honestly, like anybody else, I'll own it. I don't know if I was as, to the point as we could have been in that moment to kind of poke away at getting some accountability in the moment. because there's a lot of things that went wrong. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, guys, like for years, even when Leslie Frazier was here, when the defense struggled, the questions were to Sean about what everybody kind of implied was his unit. And last year it was definitively his unit. But now it feels like with Bobby Babich in place, it's now Bobby's unit. And talking to him yesterday, he said numerous times, it starts with me. Like he was asked about Ed Oliver. He was asked about the lack of a pass rush. He was asked about why wasn't there adjustments made. And every single answer that he had came back to him in some way. And so I think as a guy that is running the defense now, there seems to be a lot of accountability there. But to your point, yeah, I think in those moments it's tough. A head coach in a lot of ways has to maintain that, that area, that place of control, right? Like that he's got everything under control. He's running the organization. So to sit there and kind of say, yeah, I screwed up. I don't know how many coaches are going to ever be forthcoming with that. But I thought what Sean said yesterday, get a chance to go back and evaluate it, was growth in a way. And another thing, too, I do think this happening, and we talked about this on our podcast on Monday, this happening in this kind of situation in the regular season, I think is beneficial for them to kind of go back to to their offices and run through as many late game scenarios as they can pull and start planning for these moments, because they're going to be playing close games. Detroit this weekend, and then once the playoffs start.
So let's go to that last touchdown where they score eventually on 2nd and goal with the tush push, because McDermott said that they wanted to call their best play there at the goal line, and inevitably they didn't get in on first down. They have to burn the timeout. They lose the game essentially on that play, according to McDermott, their best play. But when you go back and watch it, Matt, that wasn't the same play as the play they scored on. It was a different variation of a quarterback sneak. It wasn't the tush push that we've seen this team execute over and over again to near perfection. So is their best play the tush push, or is their best play this variation of it, the quarterback sneak that failed on first down?
Right. I think that's a good question. And, I still think whether or not it's your best play, it's probably not the best play for that scenario. Like going back, okay, you go for you do the sneak on first down, you make that decision fine, knowing that you can't call the timeout in that situation. I'm okay with that. If they re-rack that play and even lose 20, 25 seconds and then run it up again, fine. The biggest issue was the timeout.
Yeah.
I still go back, though, if I'm Joe Brady or I'm Sean McDermott in that conversation, I'm saying, hey, we probably got a better shot here is if we just run shotgun from the 1-yard line and tell Josh Allen, be smart with it, find somebody open, run it in for a touchdown, or get rid of the ball and we'll re-rack the play and do it again 3 times. And that way we don't have to ever put ourselves in the situation to burn the timeout. But you're right. Like, it was a different play, and maybe they had some time in the timeout to think about, okay, we just ran this. Let's do something a little different. I think they would have run the same exact play had they not called the timeout and had to rush back to the line. But again, that's only a guess. Joe Brady would have to answer that.
We're talking to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post, Standard of the Shout podcast. Well, we can get to the defense, but Matt, special teams alarming. Reed Ferguson getting trucked, block punt whenever you have a special teams touchdown go against you. According to AI, Matt, 70% of the time you're going to lose the game, but I'm also as equally perturbed by just the 9 men on the field at the end of the game. Surely, the odds are really stacked that you could pull something off, but you at least have to be prepared. What was the explanation for the team not being ready for that final play?
Communication, lack thereof. Sean McDermott even kind of said when I asked him about why he's confident in Matthew, they didn't make a change. So why are you confident in Matthew Smiley running this unit for the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs? And he said a lot of things, but one of the things he said was he's got a great rapport with his players. And then he threw in there's a lot of young players that they're relying upon out there. So I'm guessing, some of the guys that weren't out there, whoever it was, we can kind of go back player by player on the all 22, probably were some young guys. And that's a piece where that's a coaching piece. That's a Matthew Smiley piece that I think that ever since he took over this special teams unit, whether you want to talk about losing some key guys, I mean, Tyrell Dotson, Saran Neal, Tyler Matakevich. These are like key guys that they've lost off of those units, and they've had to kind of fill in some spots with some young guys. And at times, it just hasn't been good. I mean, guys, the 9 on the field, the blocked punt, those are 2 plays in that game. I thought the punt and kick coverage against the 49ers in the snow was bad. And the West Coast team that was coming from San Francisco, I thought theirs was pretty decent. So it's not really the elements that uses the excuse there. And you wonder if maybe Sean doesn't want to rock the boat right now, and this will be something that he evaluates in the offseason. But, man, I mean, it is going to be a tough pill to swallow for Bills fans if there's a huge special teams gaffe in the playoffs that ends up leading to a loss.
Matt, what about that defensive line? You touched on it, and you were talking about McDermott being asked about it after the game. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of inconsistencies, and I'm being polite by saying inconsistencies. Some of these guys are absolutely invisible for the majority of this season. What do we need to see here to get this defensive line and to get this pass rush going again? Because if you had an advantage, it was that pass rush against a guy that's largely a statue at this time of his career, Matthew Stafford, who had a great game, largely because he was unaffected.
Yeah, and you're going to face a kind of a statue, a younger version of the statue this week in Jared Goff. And so you're right. There's got to be more. I thought the decision to go with Dwayne Carter off of IR when they did was just not the right decision at that time. I would have given him another week. You knew there was going to be a period of time that he was going to need to get himself back to where he was before. He looked slow. He looked like he was getting swallowed up by blocks. Like, I would have left him out another week, and then you could have, I think, made that decision after the Lions game. So now you have 3 divisional games against lesser opponents where he can kind of get back up to game speed. You had Jordan Phillips on the bench where, you know, some of the people that do grind the film, if you will, talked about the fact that, you know, he hasn't been great. He's had some good moments, but he is a huge dude that gobbles up double teams and allows other people to do some work. And right now at the second level, with Matt Milano shaking off the rust and looking a little bit slow himself, that could have been helpful in this game to try to figure things out against the run. Because I think the biggest thing that is leading to the struggles as a pass rushing unit is their inability at times to deal with the run. And when teams can run the ball easily, now they can keep you much more off balance. Sean talked about it the last couple of days. So I think that they're going to need they're going to need more from Ed Oliver. That's number one on my list. He had 72 pressures according to PFF in 2023. He's got 25 this season, guys. Like he's on pace right now to finish with half as many as he did last year. That's not enough. That's not doing the job. Now, you can say that Daquan Jones is the player that was last year, but he missed most of the season. So that argument doesn't really hold up. And I know that, you know, Leonard Floyd, that was somebody they had to deal with. You had Greg Rousseau and A.J. Epinesa Vaughn last year working his way back. But they need more from Ed Oliver. There's no way around it. And Bobby Babbitt said yesterday, when the ball comes his way, he's got to find a way to make a play. He wasn't singling out Oliver, but I think of everybody on this defense right now, Oliver needs that message the most.
The story about Milano, it's interesting, and the old adage, you know, you couldn't lose your injury, your job to injury in any sport. Matt, I'm just surprised that they haven't gone with more of a rotation at this point because, yeah, let the all-22 guys tell us what Matt Milano is doing right and what he's doing wrong, but I thought that Dorian Williams could offer you something, and I'm just a little surprised that they haven't gone to a rotation here.
Yeah, I am too, but I think maybe their argument against it is trying to get the reps that he missed all season long and the reps he was going to get the rest of training camp and in the preseason. They're trying to get him up to speed. Like, you're at a rotation, if you give him half of the reps he's going to get from 2 weeks ago to the first playoff game, he's still probably not going to be where you need him to be able to count on him. And I think this is the evaluation period to figure out, do you need to go with more of a rotational role in the playoffs, or can he get some momentum going here and start to play a little bit more like he did before the injury? It's a tough call because when he's right, he's an upgrade over Dorian Williams. So we're talking about a player who has had good moments. He was a tackling machine, although that's not always an indication of somebody that's playing great football if you're just getting a ton of tackles. Sometimes that's a a statement about the other players around him, especially at the safety spot, which we're coming off of a game where the safeties took a real dip. Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, they've been playing really well. I thought that was maybe their worst game that they've had maybe this season. You could throw Baltimore in there as well. And it's all works together. All three levels on the defense work together. If one unit is struggling, and especially when it's the defensive line, you're going to see it bleed into the second and third level.
I know we're going to find out more about the health of some of these injured Bills players, but Rasul Douglas is the one that I've got circled, and he did not have a good game either while he was out there. But the knee is something that's problematic, and we know that Kyrie Elam was inactive against L.A. Do you think the plan is to activate Elam against Detroit, or is it going to be more of Jamarcus Ingram that didn't really print very well against the Rams either?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I'm going to stand up for my UB dude a little bit. I didn't think it was awful for Ingram. He got picked on the one play, which I think they should have called that on Cooper Kupp. And I thought it was a tick-tack call on the pass interference call. They trust Ingram. Like, when he's out there, there's a reason that they've had Elam inactive. And it's not because they don't want Elam on the field. It's because Ingram can do multiple things. So if there's an injury at big nickel, if there's an injury at safety, Ingram can enter the mix, whereas Elam can only play boundary corner and Ingram plays special teams. So that's been the reason for that. If Douglas can't go, sure, I think Elam's back in the mix. But again, it's another situation where the guy's played 30, 40 defensive snaps this season, and now you're going to put him out there against Jamison Williams. Maybe that's an opportunity for him to make some plays and gain some confidence. I still think everything that's gone on with Elam over the course of his career here, you're talking about a player that likely struggles with confidence issues, even when he's going to eventually get out there. And that's troublesome in a big spot against a really good offense. Like, how does he handle if there's a moment in the game that doesn't go well? How does he respond to that? So, yeah, this could be it. This could be the time that we finally do see Kyrie Elam after all these weeks.
Matt, last one from me, and it's just looking ahead to Buffalo and Detroit. And my inclination here is, oh my gosh, this is just going to be picking up where we left off here. Like, how do you view this matchup against the Lions? Can the Bills do what they need to do to figure things out here on defense?
I mean, if any week you'd want to be playing this Lions team, it would be in a week where you just got handed it on defense, because that entire group, from Bobby Babich all the way down to whoever is the last guy on their defensive unit, DeMar Hamlin, whoever you want to say, they're going to be up for this game. They're going to want to make a statement and prove that last week was an aberration, send a message to maybe a lot of teams around the AFC that are chomping at the bit to kind of get a hold of the Bills. Mixon didn't play the first time the Bills played Houston. You have the Baltimore Ravens. You have a dual threat or a twin backfield of Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. The Bills haven't played Pittsburgh this year. That could be a real tall task. So I think that this group is a proud group up front. I think that they're going to want to make a statement against what's the best offensive line in the NFL. I mean, Ragnow in the middle is about as good as it gets. I did a look ahead podcast this morning with Ben Raven from M Live, our sister site. Great reporter, and we did a deep dive on the Lions. I highly recommend everybody listen to that. Raven gave some really good insight. But it's going to be a challenge. They're getting healthier. They're expected to have all of their offensive linemen back this week. So I think the defense has to make a statement after last week, which was a statement of a different kind.
Yeah, rare that they would have two bad outings back-to-back. That doesn't happen very often with Sean McDermott. Matt, what else are you working on along with Ryan that we can check out here throughout the course of the week getting ready for Sunday?
Yeah, we'll have coverage from the facility all week long. We'll have a couple more shows before Sunday. I'm heading down to Detroit, so we'll always have you covered on the ground out at Ford Field. Ford Field, really nice stadium. It's in the mix for the top tier in the NFL, I think. So if you're going to the game, it's a nice experience. And for those that want a dome and you're going to the game, sorry, because it's a great experience inside a dome, and you're not getting that in 2 years. So sorry.
No, but then again, I've heard, would that take away the tailgating in Buffalo if you had a dome outside? I don't know, because I've heard the tailgating in Detroit isn't half of what they have in Buffalo, Matt.
No, Detroit tailgate's terrible, but their stadium is also right in the middle of downtown. So if you still had a stadium out in Orchard Park where people can park and set up shop and plenty of room to tell. I don't think. First of all, it's Buffalo too. Like that's just part of the vibe. It's been like that ever since I was a baby going to games. So I don't think that would ever change.
Great stuff, man. Appreciate the time. Let's talk again next week.
Sounds good. Take care, boys.
You got it. There's Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard. You can read his work at syracuse.com. Don't forget to check out that deep dive on the Detroit Lions and the Shout podcast wherever you pod.
What about the idea that it's a pride issue and that everybody on that Bills defense is going to be buttoned up this
I believe
week?
that. I absolutely believe that. I mean, can we look back at time and see when the Bills have put up two stinkers back-to-back defensively? It doesn't happen.
Well, let me look because I don't know what happened the week after the Jonathan Taylor game. To me, the Jonathan Taylor game, Colts, that was the last time a team hung 40 on the Buffalo Bills. That was in 2022.
Right.
So I'm just going to look this up right now. If
you score 42 points, you should win a football game. And if your defense is giving up 44, chances are they're not going to do that consecutive weeks. I would venture to guess that after that Colts game, they rebounded nicely, if I remember right. They didn't put up another bad game.
Oh, that was 2021. My goodness. We got to go back here.
Oh, wow.
Boy, how many of these losses for the Buffalo Bills we've had over the years? All right, so the Colts come in November 21st, 2021. They put up 41 that week. And the following Thursday, it's a short week. They go down to New Orleans on Thanksgiving night, and they win 31-6.
They crushed them. Right.
Yeah. But then 2 weeks later is the win game.
Oh, the Patriots. Well, they didn't give them a lot of points, at least. Oh, my God. The win game.
Yeah, followed by the Buccaneers winning in overtime. Yeah, we've had a few years where
that was Tom Brady, yeah. When they lose in spectacular fashion. That's really all you can say. And it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them in the postseason. I really worry that for all the expectation, as good as this team has looked, and they could be a Super Bowl contender, you can't not factor in the McDermott decisions. The idea that they're just in these high pressure moments, they're gonna cave because it happens time and time again.
I just want to know, all right, you're Matthew Smiley. What are you doing while all this is going on? You know you've got to come up with your best play, the play you started working on, whether it's like laddering all over the field, and just to have only 9 guys come out on the field.
They're not going to make a change in the middle of the season.
They can.
But it'll happen at the end of the season. There's no way. There's no chance. I mean, you can't keep making these, but you can't have a blunder like you had with 12 men last year against the Broncos. You can't end the game and have the game really come down to a blocked punt. I mean, that one team had a blocked punt on Sunday, the other team did not. You know, we don't ever want to mention Reed Ferguson here in the sports bar because if we're mentioning Reed Ferguson, something has gone horribly wrong. So, yeah, the special teams coordinator is probably Smiley's probably out at the end of the season. If you need a scapegoat, you've got one. We're going to talk to Michael Leone, Rochester Americans head coach from the road. He's in Laval as the Amerks are gearing up for their matchup against the Rocket before they go to Belleville. They haven't seen Belleville since October.
I know. Isn't that kind of strange? So I guess they're staying up there the whole time. At least I would think that would be kind of a tough putt to come back and forth. We'll talk to, and the Amerks, this is their season-long road trip here, and then finally they'll be home next Wednesday and Friday against Syracuse.
More evidence that we, as sports fans, don't like being force-fed anything outside of what we deem to be comfortable. I'll explain what that means. And I've got some thoughts on who could be the NFL's Coach of the Year.
When things were at their worst, you had the play-by-play guy for the Buffalo Sabres, for the Boston Bruins, mocking the Buffalo Sabres, Jack Edwards.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I do. And I have that audio somewhere, yes.
Yes. We now have something like that, basically. Like, the Sabres now, once again, are becoming a punchline in the NHL, and just I hope this leads to change here.
We'll get to that and more, and stand by for Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, about a half an hour from now. You're in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
And W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester. Sports update.
Bills looking to bounce back after the loss to Los Angeles. Next up, a very tough Detroit team. Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live on the Lions.
They're very aggressive. They're unapologetic. They are going to challenge Buffalo's offense. They are going to commit numbers and edges to stop Buffalo's offensive run game. They're going to put people across the line of scrimmage. They're going to line up and play press man coverage more often than not and saying, we don't think your guys are better than our guys.
Michael LaFlorio from the NFL Network. We will talk some fantasy football coming up later this hour in the Sports Bar. Syracuse basketball tonight at the Dome, taking on the Great Danes of Albany. The Amherst on their way to suburban Montreal, where tomorrow they play at Laval. Coming up later this hour, we'll talk to head coach Mike Leone. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You know, the coaching staff, they're already putting in the game plan for the Lions, so we're going to turn the page here, too, in much the same way.
These Detroit Lions, you want to talk about grit. You want to talk about determination. You want to talk about resiliency. This team is all of those things. What a night for the Detroit Lions.
Mike Danger.
So there you go. The Bills now look forward to Sunday afternoon. It's Detroit. It's another high-powered offense, and you might have to score 49 if you're going to win on Sunday. Games that matter.
Gene Battaglia.
In a roundabout way, I'm saying, Danger, complimentary football matters.
Look at that. It matters because it was working for them.
Well, can we put this in context against the Lions? Is that really such a good idea? Do you think the Bills can, hey, we're going to go point for point with Detroit, but this time we're going to win?
Happy birthday to him.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
It feels like every day is a celebration in the Sports Bar. Benny Mardones Day yesterday. Gino's birthday today.
It's the holiday season.
It is the holiday season.
Right along. We will have our take of the year next week.
Oh my God, we're up against it. We got to remember to add baseball writer to our take of the year roster as well.
Oh, I don't even believe it.
Yeah.
Can we play that one more time?
Yes.
Or do we have it? I don't even know. All right, we can get to that later. Before we get to some takes here, Danger, this just kind of came across. So Monday Night Football, fun game last night. For two teams that are, I was entertained, Cincinnati and Dallas. But this is kind of an alarming trend in the league. It has nothing to do with anything on the field. Joe Burrow's home was broken into and vandalized. According to WLWT in Cincinnati, back bedroom window broken. It is now boarded up, and that bedroom was ransacked last night.
Terrible. Yeah, just absolutely terrible news.
This is after we learned that Patrick Mahomes' home was broken into, so was Travis's. Honestly, for anybody that is a pro athlete these days, just hire a security guard. Have somebody. I know it's tough to entrust somebody inside your home, or just park them in the garage or whatever you got to do. But, gosh, you guys are getting targeted, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know where they are. It's not like you can be elusive and say, oh, I'm not really I'm home. I'm not really playing in front of the country on Monday Night Football. Everybody kind of knows. Hire security, do what you got to do. But, that's terrifying to hear about that, and it's been going on throughout the course of the season. There was another element of last night's game, Gino, that we haven't talked about. We really didn't spend a ton of time talking about it. It's just more evidence that we as consumers, just we as a society, I don't think we like being force-fed anything that's outside of what we deem comfortable. So last night, Monday Night Football was simulcast on Disney Plus as a Simpsons episode with animation that matched the action on the field. And some would say that it's the best episode of The Simpsons in years.
Oh.
I saw so many complaints about it online last night. And
Did you?
It really, can we only be happy if we're miserable? You don't like the idea. Fine, you know what? You don't have to watch it. If you get outside of your own head for just a second, you kind of realize, okay, this idea, wait for it, it wasn't for you. It's targeted to a younger, much, much younger audience, and no different than Nickelodeon simulcasting playoff games. But I hope everyone bitching about it online felt better getting off their chest how little they wanted this. Maybe maybe just sit out a few plays or log off.
You can turn things off.
Yeah.
You don't. Not everything out there you'll like.
But the thing is I think we're so used to now in the world that we live in, this on-demand society, everything being catered to us all the time. The algorithm knows what we like, so we don't know how to react when something gets presented to us that we don't want or don't like.
Well, that's the. What was the line for The Sopranos? You'll remember when is the lowest form of conversation. Another low form of conversation is let me go to social media and bitch about something. And then somebody out there is going to say the same thing. I don't like this either. And you're instantly validated and you feel good about yourself. Isn't that really what that was about?
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
I was surprised. I'm like, wow, it's The Simpsons. Everybody loves The Simpsons. You're marrying The Simpsons in a football game. This isn't. I've never wanted this. This isn't for me. Yeah, it's right. It's not for you. You're right.
In full disclosure, I mean, I don't think any of us were like, you know what? I'm not going to watch the game on this feed. I'm going to actually watch it on the ESPN Plus feed. But I saw the snippets after. How can you not like The Simpsons doing the intros there and the starting lineup at the beginning between Chief Wiggum and his son Ralph and everything else kind of going on?
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Maybe it's not for you, but it's fun. And if it's for a younger audience, if it's for your kids, if you're watching with your, let's say you have a 6-year-old son who's just now learning about football, why not introduce it to him as The Simpsons or as Nickelodeon? I have zero issue with what they did, and actually kind of hope that they do more of that stuff. We don't have to watch it.
The lesson be learned here, too. They were considering, why don't they flex this game? These are two teams that are out of it. Ended up being a pretty good game. If you're a Cowboy fan, like, my gosh, can you lose the game on the bunt like the way you did last night? Joe Burrow is having the best season for a team that's not going anywhere, too. If the Bengals were going to be a division winner, we would be saying that guy is the MVP.
Yeah. You just can't get the ball into Jamar Chase's hands enough. I mean, to see what he does when he gets those opportunities, he's magnificent. I mean, that guy will be the highest paid wide receiver this offseason, should be. I don't know if Cincinnati's going to be the team that gives it to him because they're notoriously cheap, but he deserves to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL.
I've come to the conclusion, too, they're going to just kind of let Higgins walk here, too.
Yeah, Higgins is gone.
Yeah, he's not going to be doing it.
Higgins to the Patriots? That feels like it could happen.
Washington? I'm trying to think of teams that are young that could give their quarterback a little bit of a prop that could afford to pay him. Carolina.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to overpay for T. Higgins, and he'll be more than what Gabe Davis was in the free agent market last year for Jacksonville. He'll command a higher dollar, and will probably put up better numbers than what Gabe Davis is, but not the kind of numbers that warrant the number that he's going to get from the team that overpays for him.
I got to be honest. I love The Simpsons, but I couldn't tell you the last time I actually sat down and watched a whole episode.
Same.
It's like it's on Sunday night and it's got other things going on.
Just a bigger part of our culture. It's just a bigger part of the zeitgeist now that I don't even know that you need to watch to just know the characters that exist and why they're beloved. I mean, they're a great show. All-timer.
Were we doing the show when they goofed on upstate New York? I thought that was hilarious. And people got really upset about that.
I can't remember if we were on the air for that or not. But
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
It's a classic, man.
Wow, Tua's back in the game, everyone.
Yeah, Dr. Nick is the independent neurologist for the Miami Dolphins.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick.
So good.
If you think here in the sports bar, maybe some on social media, wherever, that we're unduly harsh on the Buffalo Sabres, oh, hey, guys, give them a break. It's only December.
Is anybody saying that? I don't think anybody is saying that.
No, I did see that, but it was looked like a burner account, Andrew, which I had to wonder, okay, who's really
Kevin
doing
Adams' burner account.
Could be.
Okay.
National people are catching on, too. So Kevin Paul DuPont, not that he was goofing on the Sabres, he writes for the Boston Globe, and the Bruins are playing in Winnipeg. And you arrive in Winnipeg in December, and, oh, look at that, snow, wind. Yeah, it's December in Winnipeg. What did you expect? Over the top comes Liam McHugh with the retweet. He's TNT now.
Yeah.
They, meaning the Jets, have the most points in the league. Where are all the palm trees? Look at Minnesota.
It's pretty good team. Pretty sure they don't have beaches this time of year.
Can you be fired over a quote That's really not the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
It's the 5 years you haven't done the job, and we're supposed to give you more time to figure this out?
I think that any grace I was willing to grant Kevin Adams left my soul when he said what he said. And if you are a fan of this team, hell, if you're a resident of this region, you should be done with this guy. I'm done with him. And I, like I said, I was willing to grant him grace. I was willing to say we'll give it time. Willing to say he hasn't made that many mistakes as GM of this team. It just hasn't progressed the way I think we would all want. But to use the language of losers, to blame the climate, to blame the inevitability of taxes where we live, you're telling the world, I'm not a good culture builder. I'm not a good recruiter. And by comparing what you haven't done to what the Bills have done, you're also letting us know that you're being bullied by Big Brother. He's got to go. Whenever it happens, it happens. He's got to go.
Well, there's also another component that kind of greases the skids here when you got to make a decision. It's the bottom line and ticket sales. Now, the Rangers are coming in. Original 6 team. You would think maybe a lot of people over the border. What do you think the get-in price is tomorrow night? New York at Buffalo.
25.
14.
Oof. Price of a chicken sandwich
14.
is more than that. A concession stand. You get in for cheaper.
This is not the Utah Hockey Club coming in, okay? This is not whatever obscure team out west coming in. It's the New York Rangers, a legit contender in the Eastern Conference that has a lot of their own fan base. Just wait. It's going to get worse here unless you really start to make some changes here. But
yeah, ugly. But you know, we'll. I think you said it best earlier. Let's just stay in our Rochester Americans bubble. Let's keep things up and moving with the Amerks and hope for the best.
Those pictures from Winnipeg, though, I'm like, oh.
I've been to Winnipeg.
Winnipeg
was a destination when I was a kid. First NHL game was at the old Winnipeg Arena. It was the Jets against the Oilers. I got to see the great one.
Was that the one where they had the picture of Queen Elizabeth
up?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think about how old hockey barns north of the border used to look, and that was the Winnipeg Arena. And when I'm saying that the seats were like, you're looking straight down on the ice. I mean, like it's almost as if you're climbing a ladder to get to your seats.
It sounds like old Yankee Stadium when you're up there. You're like, oh, I'm just going to look down.
It was straight vertical. I mean, it was intense. It was a lot of fun. But Winnipeg itself, I mean, yeah, if you're going to use your climate as an excuse, what excuse do they have? Taxes north of the border are different than taxes, in Florida as well. So what are we really talking about? We're talking about a guy who's in over his head and basically told you everything he needs to know. Everything you need to know about how he feels about his current situation, where he lives, what organization he's a part of.
I can't get it done.
Can't get it done.
Yep, here are my excuses.
Who you got for NFL's Coach of the Year?
Ooh. I'm thinking Tomlin might win it. The way he navigated the quarterback situation, the way you're getting the most out of this, if they win a tough division and they end up being the 3 seed comfortably.
If they win out.
Even if I would afford them a loss to Kansas City or Philadelphia, maybe one of the two. But I would say right now, Danger, it's Mike Tomlin.
They could lose to Philly. They could lose to the Chiefs. They could lose to the Ravens, who they still have to play a second time. So I hear what you say, and I've been saying all year long, like, for what LaFleur did early this season without Jordan Love to kind of reclaim Malik Willis and turn him into something and win games that way, I always thought that was very impressive. And I'm going to stay in the NFC North right now because I think it's Dan Campbell's award to lose right now. They'll finish the season, you would think, with the best record in the NFL. And if the Lions somehow stumble here down the stretch, starting with a loss to the Bills on Sunday, and Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings win that division, then I think he actually wins that award, given all that he's done this season, the resurrection of the career of Sam Darnold. And if you want a dark horse in the NFL's Coach of the Year, keep an eye on what Seattle does, because if Seattle runs the table and they win the NFC West, the narrative that we always talk about with Coach of the Year is, hey, you're a coach who coached above expectation, and nobody had any expectations for the Seahawks in Mike McDonald's first year, but that defense is playing really, really good. And right now, he's an attractive long shot at plus 2,000.
It's funny. They're the only team in that division with a positive point differential. Like, that would be a pop quiz. It would be like, oh, the Niners. No. Oh, it's got to be. That would be the last choice.
Yeah.
Considering what the Niners have done, what you just saw from the Rams. But it's Seattle at 8-5. They're in a position right now to be the 3 seed. So I'm glad you're pointing them out.
If they run the table, and they win out the rest of their games and they win that division, I could make the case for Mike McDonald winning Coach of the Year. It just feels like that's the kind of coach they want to award, like they did with Stefanski all those years with the Browns. Like, oh, hey, you really performed above expectation this year. Here you go, Coach. More so than giving it to the guy who has the best record in the league, the way Campbell probably will finish up with.
The Vikings at 11-2, though. All right, so they would go to Tampa as a 5. I'm assuming Detroit takes care of business here, but.
Yeah.
As a 4-5, that's a really good game.
Yeah, and Detroit has to mind their P's and Q's here. I mean, you could say that the Bills have more to play for. The Lions want that 1 seed. You got Minnesota breathing down your neck, not just for the 1 seed for that division, and they still have to play each other. I think it's going to be an interesting watch here down the stretch to see who actually ends up with the NFL's Coach of the Year award.
Kind of not the Coach of the Year because it's not going to be Sean McDermott, but I'm coming to a new conclusion on the Buffalo Bills because now the 1 seed feels a little out of reach where you're now 2 full games back at Kansas City. And yes, the Chiefs have tough games. You have 1. But could you get to a situation with the Steelers having this tough schedule danger where you're entering Week 18 and the Bills are nestled in as the 2? I could see that happening, and then you go to New England, okay, does not matter.
Right.
You rest Josh Allen, you rest anybody that has any ailments whatsoever, and it's a glorified preseason game. Not exactly a bye, but that would be as close as you could get to one, so I think that's something also to shoot for. Can you get things wrapped up, at least the 2 seed wrapped up, before you get to Week 18?
You know, it's one of the reasons why the fantasy football playoffs are getting underway starting this week in a lot of leagues. You don't want to have your league tied to that final game of the regular season when you have guys resting and guys taking a seat at halftime. We'll talk fantasy football and the fantasy football postseason with Michael F. Florio of NFL Network. He's going to stop by before 5 o'clock. But up next, we go to Laval to talk to Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, as his team gets set to face off against the Rocket. And we'll get a little state of the Amherst next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to
Bills players off, as normally the case on a Tuesday, getting ready now for the Detroit Lions. Head coach Sean McDermott knows this is a challenge.
Very talented when you look at their roster, and I got it a few hours ago, just, their depth chart and their players, and very talented roster. They've done a great job putting that together, and, we're going to have a big challenge for us with that, and then also going on the road.
Yeah, our coverage on Sunday will begin at noon, 4:25, the kickoff here on the Fan Rochester. Syracuse basketball, they're back home tonight, taking on the Great Danes of Albany. Amherst playing in suburban Montreal tomorrow as it's game 3 of the 5-game road trip. Laval, the opponent. We're scheduled to talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up next here in the Sports Bar. Sabres, they've lost 7 in a row. They take on the Rangers tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar, it's Danger and Battaglia. I'll try to get Mike Leone, Amherst head coach, on with us here this afternoon. If we aren't able to connect with him, it's a reminder, team is in Laval. Rocket tomorrow night here on the Fan Rochester. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. You can hear the Amherst here, all of the Amherst action on the Fan Rochester, including this weekend's series in Belleville against the Senators. That's Friday and Saturday night, back-to-back in Belleville. Both of those games this weekend on the Fan Rochester as well. Your proud home for Rochester Americans hockey. All right, so we left a message for Coach Leone.
Who knows? He might be at the border right now. First things first.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we'll look forward to catching up with him if we don't do it today. Hopefully get him back on the blower next week and talk about the state of the Rochester Americans fresh from their road trip to Charlotte, where they split with the Checkers. A pretty devastating loss on Friday night, 6-0, only to rebound and give Devin Levi the shutout there, 3-0 on Saturday night in Charlotte.
Yeah, that was a good weekend here for the Amherst, all things considered, that when you're going on the road like that, and not home until next Wednesday. So Syracuse coming in on the 18th and then the 20th, and then that will be as far as home games until we get to the Christmas break here.
We've got Michael F. Florio from NFL Network stopping by the Sports Bar here in about 15 minutes or so. Funny to have him on today. Earlier on McAfee with Rogers on the show, they pulled up one of Michael F. Florio's tweets from X. As Rogers was disputing the validity of Michael F. Florio. He's not even a real guy. We've got to get the story behind our buddy F's little appearance there on McAfee on the national stage.
That's like, we've got Sports Bar people where you have Aaron Rodgers goofing on Michael F. Florio. Do you remember Tom Brady goofing on Nate Geary? That really happened.
What was the story behind that?
So it was Brady was doing his weekly thing with Jim Gray.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, this is prior to Let's Go.
Oh,
this was like
just a weekly
interview, and this is while Brady is still playing. And they decided to do like a mean tweet segment. Not original, but I guess it's original for Tom Brady to do something like this. So Jim Gray pulls up this tweet. Nate Geary writing, "Merry Christmas to everyone except you, Tom Brady." I imagine Tom Brady right now is watching his, whatever the doc was, Tom versus Time.
Yeah, okay.
So Gray reads this, and Brady in response, "Well, Nate, actually, we weren't watching that. I was watching with my family the last Super Bowl victory over Kansas City. But you wouldn't know about it up there." I give Brady a little credit there.
Well, I mean, what can you say in defense of that? Nothing. He's got one on us.
Yeah.
He'll always have one on us. And by the way, like, for as critical as a lot of people have been of Tom Brady, his first year in the booth, he nailed it when the game was on the line and the Bills called that timeout. I mean, he was the first one to be critical of Sean McDermott in real time, and he was absolutely right.
Danger,
you gave away the game.
It's simple math. Why do coaches freeze like this? And if you want to be better as a coach, whether it's in college, the high school to a lesser degree, because really you're not running as much 2-minute there, but honest to God, you can't figure out how to manage a clock, play clock, timeout. What do you need? What's down into how are their brains not wired this way?
It's a strange thing, man.
It is.
And it's strange that it happens multiple times to this specific coach. And it's a drumbeat that you're going to hear as the postseason draws closer and closer. Can the Bills get out of their own way when it matters most? Because when they lose, typically it's in this fashion, in just a massive flameout.
Was it easier to go down to Baltimore and just get smacked? Like you were not like from the get-go. There goes Derrick Henry. I'm going to run right over.
It'll be one of those nights.
Yeah.
I like those games better than the way they lose a game like they lost on Sunday.
Right. So how does this team now respond? Forget the team. How does the defense and special teams and the coaching staff respond? Also, what does the offense do? And it was actually your neighborhood Goombas that brought this up.
No James Cook. The run game was non-existent against the Rams.
They tried it, and they quickly realized, well, we could just kind of move the ball through the air here. But I don't know if that's the best course of action against Detroit. And we'll talk to some Lions insiders tomorrow and Thursday here. But the idea that I can't believe I'm actually saying this again. Complimentary football for the Buffalo Bills when you're taking on the top echelon here. Maybe just Josh Allen, go do your thing, isn't the best idea. You need to kind of grind out first downs and play keep away.
I don't have the records right in front of me, but it was a staggering comparison when you look at who many would say are the top two quarterbacks in the NFL, Mahomes and Josh Allen. And when both of them are forced into situations where they have to account for more than 400 total yards or something like that, Allen has a losing record, and Mahomes is he's like 14-2.
Yeah.
So when you're asking Mahomes to be Superman, the team picks him up, they respond, they win those games. When you're asking Allen to be Superman, you fall flat. And it'll always be, well, we need to play complementary football. Yes, of course you need to play complementary football. But you know what? When that isn't an option and you ask Josh Allen to play Superman, maybe pick him up and get a win instead of creating a self-inflicted wound that forces you to lose the game the way you did on Sunday. Maddening. Just a maddening loss for the Buffalo Bills. And I would be shocked if they didn't have a response defensively. The defense didn't look more physical, more prepared, more in line against Detroit. And they're going to have their hands full with that two-headed backfield with Gibbs and with Montgomery. And that's before you talk about Jared Goff, who under the radar is having a really, really good season. He's efficient. He's accurate. He's not putting the ball in harm's way, save for that one game against Houston. That's your best hope if you're the Buffalo Bills. Get the turnovers, because not getting any turnovers against the Rams, probably the reason why you're not winning that game.
Oh, by the way, too, this is going to be a real road game for you. Meaning, it was L.A., and you had a lot of fans coming. The Bills travel well, and we heard Matt Perino kind of suggesting, I'm sure there will be Bills fans, but Detroit loves its sports. They really do, but you got to be a winner. I look at the Red Wings all those years, and now you look at the Lions, and that is such a tough ticket there. So if you are going to the game, I'm going to guess that you had to pay a little bit here for Bills and Lions.
The average ticket price for that one, I remember looking at it and thinking, oh, wow, this is actually going to be a higher price game. And it's the highest price game that's left right now. Tickets at their lowest price for Detroit, $286.
That's right. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, $267. Who would have thought, after watching decades of the final preseason game, Bills and Lions, oh my goodness, we're doing this again, that this would be the hottest ticket in football at some point?
Kind of funny how quickly things can change around in the NFL.
Talk about funny here, Danger. This came across today, and I'm going to admit I watched Browns Steelers, but once the game was in hand, I didn't stick with it. Okay, Steelers up 27-7, missed this play. There was our old friend Kadarius Toney, who I did notice on the field, and apparently he got called for taunting. I didn't miss that play. That was in the fourth quarter. Today, the Browns moved on from Kadarius Toney.
Dummy. He's just a dummy on the football field. I mean, the whiff of the New York Giants in selecting that guy, I mean, just not knowing that where there might have been some talent, and you could argue, was there ever talent? Like, I would say that, these scouts, that they see something, they're like, okay, we can work with that guy. But the mistakes and the mental errors and everything that's gone with the drops, everything that's gone with Kadarius Toney, what a bust.
Well, that is when you put it in, he came out the same draft as, I want to say Justin Jefferson. Yeah. I'd have to go back and look, but at least the Giants recognize this right away, Danger, and I think they got a third-round pick from Kansas City. I don't know if Kadarius Toney's ever going to get another chance in the league here, but when we're having this conversation about Bill Belichick bringing in NFL style to North Carolina, well, it's not just Belichick. You're going to see, with everybody getting paid now in college, when you get paid, there's a certain level of expectation.
Correct.
Are we going to have less and less of this? In other words, would the college game with NIL actually kind of sharpen the NFL draft process? You know what you're getting. We get these all the time, like, hey, I think I'm drafting this. Oh, my gosh, the guy's an idiot. What is he doing?
Right.
Yeah, like that sort of idiot play is not going to work in college much longer.
Yeah, at minimum, it's going to force NFL GMs and scouts to sharpen their pencils and ask different questions of the prospects that they're interviewing when they meet with them, just to see, like, because the world is not the same now as it was 5 years ago even. And you have to kind of adjust and adapt to those times and see if the money changes these players or these prospects, if the opportunities that have been afforded to them in NIL and the transfer portal have changed how they approach their day-to-day and how they approach their opportunity in the NFL. Yeah, what a bust. Kadarius Toney. Let's talk about who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football before we get to Michael F. Florio from NFL Network.
Look, who's hot? We always focus on the negative, right, more often than not on the Bills. Why don't we just kind of point out it's Josh Allen? What he did was magnificent. He and Otto Graham, the only players to achieve those numbers.
The highest fantasy football score, I want to say, of all time.
Yeah, of all time. Yeah. This other quarterback, okay, here's the quiz, Danger. Ready? This quarterback in the NFL. If you're playing this guy in a super flex, don't. Meaning, his average, 14.6 per game.
Okay.
His average, in terms of fantasy points, is actually lower than Daniel Jones, is actually lower than Mason Rudolph. He right now ranks 26 in terms of fantasy quarterbacks. It's a quarterback entering the season many of us held in high regard. And I'll give you credit. You, at the beginning of the season, said this team isn't for real. I don't believe them.
C.J. Stroud.
You got it.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud not having a good year. He's cold. He hasn't done it in weeks. Beware if you're playing C.J. Stroud.
Who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football? It's brought to you by AirQuip Heating and Air Conditioning. It's fun and challenging to know when to start a player that's heating up or bench one who's cooling off. It's not fun to be too hot or too cold in your home or business. Make the best lineup call you can and call AirQuip today. We check in with Michael F. Florio. Fantasy football playoffs getting underway this weekend for many leagues. NFL Network's Michael F. Florio to help guide you through the waiver process this week and pick up some players that can help you win that championship. On the way next on The Fan. Afternoon at this time, we welcome in from NFL Network, Florio's football show, Michael F. Florio stopping by, and it is indeed Michael F. Florio, a real person.
He's not real.
A real Rogers, take it easy for a second there. I'm telling you, he's real. He's got the blue check mark and everything. What was that all about? We saw you get some run on McAfee earlier. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, that was a nice surprise. I was recording literally an episode of Florio's football show, and my phone starts blowing up, and I'm looking at it, and everyone's like, "You were on McAfee. They talked about you," and then I get the clip, and I started cracking up. Like, I promise you, I'm a real person. I'm not AI or anything like that, so you don't have to worry. I know Rogers. He likes some conspiracy theories. This is not one. I promise you that.
Yeah, Michael, for anybody that might be new to our show, maybe didn't hear the segment, and I call this the Gus Frerotte rule. We had Gus Frerotte, former Giant quarterback, play for a lot of teams, and what's he remembered for? Banging his head against the wall, right, and like knocking himself out of the game, right? We asked him about it once, and that was that. How do people get confused? Do they get confused with the other guy that works also in your business?
Yeah, it happens. I will say it happens a lot less now than like when I was starting out here, because people are like, they watch the fantasy show and stuff, so I guess people are noticing it. It happens, like it happened earlier this year with Dan Patrick, actually, which was kind of cool. I'll keep taking these spots if they want to keep giving them to me just because of the name and everything. But, yeah, it definitely happens a little bit less. But I did laugh when I heard that the other Florio gets a lot of fantasy questions sent his way. So I think it goes a little bit both ways.
Yeah, he probably gets really grumpy when he gets those fantasy questions, too. That's why we call him F. He's our guy, Michael F. Florio, joining us here in the Sports Bar, and he's also a Bills guy. So we got to ask, Mike, off the top, how you feeling about the Bills here heading into Sunday, given what we saw in L.A. Last Sunday?
I didn't take last Sunday as hard as I think some people in the fan base did. To me, it was a reminder of, like, certain things tend to – like the defensive struggles against a top offense is something that we have seen in the playoffs before. So I'm trying to be more optimistic about it. On Sunday, I took it a little bit hard, but now I'm like, okay, maybe this was the eye-opener this group needed. Maybe this is something that will set them straight now, because this week the Lions is their last real difficult test until the playoffs, I would say. So, one, I think last week prepares them well for this week, because similar offenses in the sense of a great run game that you're probably going to have to sell out to stop if you're the Bills, but also plenty of wide receivers that can beat you. I wonder if they go more zone, if they learn more man, if they learn from how heavy they were playing zone last week or whatever. But I think the Rams were a good test for the Lions. I didn't expect it to go like it did last week, but hey, maybe this is what they need to get into the playoff mode and be ready for it, because this has happened in the past where like the D-line struggles and stuff like that in the playoffs. So maybe it happened early this year.
Well, welcome to the playoffs, and one of the questions that I'm sure you're going to get a lot about here, because if you made the playoffs, chances are maybe you have something invested in the Philadelphia offense. They won last week, and they were all grumpy and all kind of talking about the passing game, and you and others pointed out, hey, there's A.J. Brown, and he's wide open, and he's not getting the football. Do we expect a market correction when it comes to the Philadelphia passing this week? Or no, because actually they get a good opponent here in the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, the Steelers are a tough defense, but look, if I have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, especially A.J. Brown, I don't see how you're not starting him. The upside is so high. But, yeah, I do believe in, like, the squeaky wheel theory when a wide receiver, like especially one to the caliber of A.J. Brown, is unhappy and lets that be known publicly. A lot of the times we do see the game plan the next week be a little bit more skewed and there be an emphasis to get that player going. And if you're A.J. Brown, you have every right to be upset. There was a play early on where he was open downfield and Jalen Hurts missed him on the one that ended up being a Devonta Smith touchdown. A.J. Brown was wide open in the middle of the field, and Jalen Hurts just eye scanned right past him. So, yeah, there was plenty of production. A.J. Brown is doing his job, getting open and getting in a position to put his team in for success. They just need to get him the ball. I expect them to market correct, like you said, this week.
Now, with the fantasy football playoffs underway in many leagues, you still have the waiver wire to comb, and I'm wondering, Mike, if there's anybody on the waiver wire this week that you would classify as potential league winner, because you have some serious injuries from some offenses that we usually expect fantasy production from, or are you at this point just hoping, hey, maybe a guy like Rico Dowdle, like we saw last night, who's been unbelievable here in the last few weeks, is the kind of guy that can help propel your team to that next level?
Yeah, I love Rico Dowdle this week as well because of the matchup he has against the Panthers, the best one for a running back. So, yeah, if you have someone like him, like Chase Brown has been running so hot, I think you just continue to ride with them. Tony Pollard, another one. But, like, if by some chance Zach Charbonnet or Braylon Allen are out there in your league, I think they are 100% must-adds this week. But I think the lesson to be had from there is this is the time of year where you want these backup running backs, these running backs that are an injury away from becoming players that you immediately start in your lineup because buys are behind us now. You don't need as many bench wide receivers and tight ends and stuff because your lineup is set for the most part at a lot of positions outside of maybe one or two where you're streaming or something like that. So use those bench spots for these running backs because now we're looking at names like Isaiah Davis, Patrick Taylor, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, these backup running backs that all of a sudden, like if Bucky Irving is out, Sean Tucker becomes someone that you could flex. So use your bench and the waiver wire to go out and get those guys now while they are out there. And, like, 49ers guys, I don't feel great about any of them, but if you're adding any, Patrick Taylor is the one I like the most. And if you're in a deeper league or in a pinch or something like that, he should get run. But, yeah, to me, the waiver wire this week and the rest of the way is about getting running backs, or you could use it to get out in front of other positions. Like if you stream defenses, maybe look to next week as well and get out in front of it, something along those lines, or quarterback, something like that. But, yeah, your bench is not what it is in season in the playoffs. It's more about being prepared and getting yourself ready for future weeks.
What is your advice for anybody that owns Alvin Kamara? He's got this streak now. I got to look it up, 5 or 6. 6 games now he hasn't scored a touchdown. But now you don't have a quarterback situation. Is that somebody that's dropping down in your rankings? If so, how far?
He is definitely sliding a bit. Like early in the year, he was a must-start top 5 running back. He's nowhere close to that anymore. But I still think in most instances you are playing Alvin Kamara if you have him because – yeah, eventually he's going to score a touchdown again. But the backup quarterback, look, it adds risk because we don't know who he's going to throw the ball to a bunch. But a lot of the times what we've seen when the Saints go to backups, they end up dumping it off a whole bunch to Alvin Kamara. And especially with all the injuries they have at their pass catchers positions, I think volume wins the day still for Alvin Kamara.
We're talking to Michael F. Florio from NFL Network as your fantasy playoffs are about to get underway. Very quietly, a running back has had a really good season. He's approaching top 10, I want to say, at his position, and I think you got a little bit more clarity. If you have Chuba Hubbard, you're starting him every week without hesitation, even though he's on a Carolina Panthers offense that a lot of people would kind of plug their nose at a little bit, correct?
Yeah, he is a must-start option. I believe it's 5 of his last 7 games he has scored at least 15 in PPR leagues, and he's been an RB1 in 4 of his last 5. So and now, like you said, it's awful what happened to Jonathan Brooks. I think his future was so bright, and he had so much upside and talent, but re-tearing that ACL is just awful. But, yeah, it leaves Hubbard as the unquestioned RB1 there, and now he gets the Cowboys, who Chase Brown had a big day against yesterday, and they have been in the top 5 in fantasy points per game allowed to the position all year. So not only is the volume there and the production has been there, but it's a fantastic matchup as well for Chuba.
Michael, I remember a conversation from last week where we were just coming off that magnificent fantasy game there, Cleveland and Denver, and Jameis Winston giving us everything we would ever want, and then not exactly giving you points in Pittsburgh. Now Cleveland going back home this week. They take on, it's the Chiefs. Are we trusting in Jameis and Judy and that offense?
I think you're going to still be trusting in Jerry Jeudy for sure. He is averaging over 20 fantasy points per game with Jameis Winston right now. I joke that with Jameis Winston, Jerry Jeudy is better than Jerry Rice. Who knew? But David Njoku is also a must-start option. He has had 30 targets in the last 2 games, and The Chiefs are top 2 in yards and fantasy points allowed to tight ends this season. After that, you could be a little bit more selective. I don't think you want to play any of your Browns running backs against this Chiefs defense, Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford. Jameis, the upside is always there because, look, he's going to air the ball out. He's going to throw a touchdown one way or the other. It might go to the other team, but he is not afraid to force it in there. So the upside is there. The floor is low, though, in this matchup because the Chiefs defense has been good. Although, as of late, they have struggled against the pass. And then Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore, to me, are more deeper options that I don't want to play, but if you are diving a little bit deeper, then volume wins out for them.
The flip side of that coin, Kansas City, and I like bringing him up because you were the guy that was so high on him in the preseason. What's it going to take for Isaiah Pacheco to get going behind that offensive line that's banged up of the Chiefs? Are we going to see at some point the Isaiah Pacheco that we all kind of saw at the end of last year is somebody that can actually be very, very productive for your team?
That's the hope. And the thing is, he has outproduced like Kareem Hunt behind this same offensive line. So I do think he is their best back. I think he is starting to work his way and look more like the Pacheco we were hoping to see. But whenever you have something like this, one, there is questions about workload because in both of his games so far, he's yet to play over half the snaps. So still clearly not fully back yet. And then you always do have to wonder, is the full burst there? Is he 100% healthy? So right now, until we see it, I don't think we can value Isaiah Pacheco as the RB1 that we know he is. He's much more like an RB2 or flex option right now. So eventually, the hope is that one of these games, and it could happen at any moment, he looks like the Pacheco of old, but until we see it, it's hard to trust him as that.
So, Michael, here we are. Fantasy playoffs already here. Last question from me. Streaming defenses. This is a big one. It could tip mean the difference between a win or a loss. What are some of the tastier matchups you're looking at this week?
Yeah, I like the Vikings against the Bears. Fifth most sacks ever through 13 games for a quarterback taken by Caleb Williams this year. I like the Broncos against the Colts because there's always the turnover potential there. The Ravens are a must-start option against the Giants, I would say. Jets are a great matchup against the Jaguars. And then a couple of backup quarterback situations potentially with the Commanders. You could take on the Saints there and take advantage of no Derek Carr. And then the Falcons at the Raiders. AOC's up in the air. But even if he plays, you could stream against that Raiders offense.
Tell us about Florio's Football Show and where we can get more of your work there at NFL Network, Mike.
Yeah, I'll be on Fantasy Live tomorrow talking up Khalil Shakir a whole bunch. Going to be to Florio's Football Show already recorded today, so that has dropped today. Oh, catch that over at rotoballer.com. I'll be on Insiders tomorrow, NFL Fantasy Football Show, a whole bunch of places you could find my work. And I'm not AI. I'm real. If you want it all in one place, at Michael F. Florio on the socials is where you can find me.
I noticed you didn't mention that you're going to be on McAfee again anytime soon, but I think you should demand it. You should demand that they put you on at McAfee so you can prove to them and the world that you are indeed a real person and not AI.
Hey, if they will have me, I will gladly show up and show them that I am a actual real human being.
Pat, Michael, thank you very much for the time today. Congratulations on getting the mention there with Rodgers and McAfee today, and let's do this again next week.
Sounds good. Go Bills.
You got it.
Thanks.
There he is, Michael F. Florio. NFL Network, Florio's Football Show, and occasionally Pat McAfee as well. We got happy hour on the way next. It's a special day in the sports bar. Really, every day is a celebration.
Wow, I mean, you should just prepaid right now your bet because Bill Belichick is going to be on the sideline perhaps with North Carolina.
Oh, we have to check in with the peasantry here. Some of our regulars have been chiming in, and I don't know if you're going to like how this is going to lay out for you, Gino. But we'll get into it here as Bill Belichick. There are multiple reports now. Bill Belichick has agreed to terms with UNC, but there's still a finalization that needs to happen here. Isn't final, but everything is in place, I guess.
Yeah, we're still they haven't gotten over the goal line yet, and we're trying to dissect. Did I win the bet or did you win the bet?
And it's also a special day in the sports bar.
No, we know that. We already covered that.
Yesterday, Benny Mardones Day, and today we shine a light on, as I called him earlier, the straw that stirs my radio drink. Gene Battaglia having a day. We'll get into that next on The Fan.
You're listening to Rochester Sports Update.
Bills going back to work on the practice field tomorrow, getting ready for really as a Super Bowl contender in the Detroit Lions. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live talking about their defense.
They're very aggressive. They're unapologetic. They are going to challenge Buffalo's offense. They are going to commit numbers and edges to stop Buffalo's offensive run game. They're going to put people across the line of scrimmage. They're going to line up and play press man coverage more often than not and saying, we don't think your guys are better than our guys.
Our coverage Sunday will begin at noon with the pregame. Syracuse basketball tonight. The Orange hosting the Great Danes of Albany. The Amerks playing in suburban Montreal tomorrow at Laval. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour here, we'll talk to Mike Leone, head coach of the team, as they are once again on the road. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You know, the coaching staff, they're already putting in the game plan for the Lions, so we're going to turn the page here, too, in much the same way.
These Detroit Lions, you want to talk about grit. You want to talk about determination. You want to talk about resiliency. This team is all of those things. What a night for the Detroit Lions.
Mike Danger.
So there you go. The Bills now look forward to Sunday afternoon. It's Detroit. It's another high-powered offense, and you might have to score 49 if you're going to win on Sunday. Games that matter.
Gene Battaglia.
In a roundabout way, I'm saying, Danger, complimentary football matters.
Look at that. It matters because it was working for them.
Well, can we put this in context against the Lions? Is that really such a good idea? Do you think the Bills can, hey, we're going to go point for point with Detroit, but this time we're going to win?
Happy birthday to him.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
That's right. Every day is a celebration in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. If we're not celebrating Benny Mardones Day yesterday, 16 days before Christmas, today, December 10th, we're celebrating Gene Battaglia's birthday.
This is the day and age of social media where I guess, you found out and
It's a full-time job on social media when it's your birthday. You have to keep checking back. You got to thank the people that take time out of their day to wish you a happy birthday. You have to jog your memory and remember, like, where do I know that person? Oh, wow. Yeah, that person's still in my life. Completely forgot about that person, but they didn't forget about me. It's a special day, and because it's a special day, the Dandalorian, our bounty hunter of the finest audio in the galaxy, and we played this earlier in the show if you missed it. We're going to play it again because the comments I've received, he deserves a Marconi for putting this together.
Just enter in the New York State Broadcasters
This
contest
is award-winning. We pay tribute to the straw that stirs my radio cocktail. It's Gene Battaglia's birthday. Gene Battaglia, happy birthday.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Featuring the best of
Gene Battaglia.
Happy birthday to him.
I am in need of my vitamin C.
By the way, Jack is not a real name. You don't know. That's a take.
No, it's not. Like, honestly, the name is Jonathan.
No, I'm not coming around on that.
No!
Right?
No! There you go, Rob. No, they're not.
No. Oh, no.
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 Hold on.
No, you're crazy, dude. No. Oh, no.
Mike Danger here, and then me, I come across like this. He scored!
Wow. I can't explain to you why you don't understand the glory that is Bruce Springsteen.
No!
Gene just assaulted a chair.
Where's Mr. Mouth, Fates? Where's Mr. Mouth, Catalana?
I am Count Tesco. He's Leo. So the question is, Danger, when we bring in Mike Leone, do you fire up your favorite yacht rock song as an intro? Leo.
No, Lido.
Lido
Shuffle?
Oh, it's not
Lido.
Oh, it's not Leo.
No, it's not Leo Shuffle. You've lived your entire adult life thinking Boz Scaggs' classic was called Leo Shuffle?
Gene! I was saying Leo.
Gene! Lido. Lido. Lido.
What does Lido even mean?
I don't know. It's just jammer. I don't know what it means. I just know it's Lido, not Leo. Leo Shuffle? What does that even mean?
I am Master Stroke.
Gene, you're Master Stroke Jr. You're right. I'll own it. Don't ever call me Master Stroke again.
I will come in as Grimace that day.
I love it.
I'm not dressing up as Benny Martinez, if that's what you're asking. I'm putting up my hand across my heart. I will not hang up on Dan Fates today.
Because you were afraid he was going to give you a Go Braves.
I didn't hang up on him. I tried to cut him off, and then it's a hang.
Yeah.
So,
I'm embarrassed to kind of admit this. You mean to tell me Netflix and chill doesn't mean just going home and relaxing?
Gene Battaglia's greatest hits.
Thank you, Dan.
The Dandalorian doing work. Happy birthday, Gino. Yeah, and you're not alone. More and more people have come forward and said, I don't know what Netflix, what does Netflix and chill mean?
Yeah.
Use another square up on the second floor
Frank,
here.
Like Frank didn't know. Your wife didn't know.
So disappointed in Frank. I'm disappointed in myself for not educating my wife. She's a square as well. Netflix and chill. What does it mean? It means you're just going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix and just chill out, right?
Chill out, yeah.
Yeah, no, not really what it means. But you go with that. Your pure mind, your pure innocent mind. Go with that. We have a bet to settle here.
We do.
I mean, potentially. It's not official, but we got a lot of reports here now that there is more and more talk between the University of North Carolina and Bill Belichick.
Well, here, and again, people are kind of questioning the original reporting of this. I think it's legit. It's somebody that is actually on the North Carolina beat. But the report is this, that Bill Belichick has conditionally accepted the job at UNC. He hands over what is his 400-page, you can call it list of demands. Some are calling it the Bible. You really want to get cynical, his manifesto. I would just say, hey, here's how I'm going to run the program. You have to agree to this. Boom. Okay, I would think 400 pages of anything might take a while, particularly if you're handing it over to lawyers because they don't tend to read quick. They like to take their time. So I was being a little cheeky there. Danger, if that's all true, he's going to be the head coach of North Carolina. Are we ready for this?
The only thing that I would say would prevent this from happening at this point is, a few weeks down the road, an NFL team comes scratching by, and I mean, Belichick has done that before too, right? He said, yeah, I'll do that, and then he's turned coat and gone the other way for a better opportunity.
Well, who's to say that whether it's through back channels or whether it's through actually picking up the phone, John Mara, owner of the New York Giants, calls up Bill Belichick and just says, hey, I see you're talking to UNC. If it doesn't work out, we should talk. Something along those lines. That's not tampering, Danger.
I think that people, if they were interested in Bill Belichick, they would be having these conversations with Bill Belichick throughout the course of this season.
Oh, without a doubt, the guy was on the beach.
He's working in media. I mean, like, if you want to talk to him, he's there. He's not under contract. He's there. You can talk to him.
It's yes and no. Like entering the season, everybody, 2 thumbs up. We're going to have the season. Once it starts going south, you don't want to undermine your current head coach. Like, Giant fans, I know you thought it was going to go bad, but did you really think it was going to go this bad?
I think that one interview last coaching cycle and nothing really right now in the NFL ranks tells you really all you need to know about where NFL owners are in terms of who they're looking for to fill head coaching vacancies. And hate to spoil it, it's not Bill Belichick. It's not the old grizzled veteran guy who has a wealth of experience and knowledge and also a heftier paycheck. It's the guy that you are proudly displaying as your forward face of the franchise because he looks like he came off the cover of GQ. It's Sean McVay. It's Kevin O'Connell. It's Ben Johnson next season, right? Like, it's the reason why Ben Johnson is still in Detroit is because he didn't really conform to what a lot of NFL owners want out of that first-time head coach. He wanted to get paid as a top 5 head coach in the NFL, and nobody was willing to give him that.
Right. That's why he didn't go to Washington, and you could second-guess that, and maybe it works out for him in the end. I would say more – and look, if we put it in the context, Danger, like we went through how many of these hires? The Bills did this with Rex Ryan. Like, if the Bills were in the drought era, we'd all be like, Belichick, please, 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 please. And he would have come here. So there's another team out there. I don't know who that may be, but there would be one owner. But I'm going to tell you the one reason, it wasn't anything you mentioned there, why this won't happen is because, well, you hire Bill Belichick. He's Bill Belichick. He's in control.
That's right.
You are not going to dictate anything to him. It's that cachet he's going to bring. And from the Belichick side, the more I think about this, I think we had it all wrong in this sense. Oh, he won't ever go to college. He's not going to want to deal with boosters and NIL and everything else. The dude just dealt 20 years with Robert Kraft. Why would he want to sign up with a Jerry Jones or some other, or a Shad Khan or some other owner where he's going to have to sit down an hour a week and just kiss his ring? That's not what he wants to do at this point in his life.
Plus, if he takes this job at Carolina, his girlfriend have a lot of people her age to hang out with, which is a bonus for him. And if you think he can't recruit, I would point you in the direction of her. Yeah, he can recruit. He can close.
I'm not saying this cheeky. I'm asking seriously here because when we saw this, when Brady was kind of doing his tour and when he was married to Giselle, that it has to factor in. Where would she be happy? Okay, Tampa's close enough where she can. In any way, is Belichick thinking about the girlfriend? Meaning, hey, New York, she's that type.
Is she think? Yeah, he may not be thinking as much about her as he's thinking about his son.
Well,
that's an element of this as well.
That is, no one NFL team is going to say, yes, after you're done, Bill, certainly we would love to have Steve Belichick as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't think the NFL would want that either. But that's also part of this deal. If Carolina signs off on that, you know what? They should.
I love it. If you're a Carolina booster, if you're a Carolina fan, this is the kind of move that takes your organization and makes it relevant. This is akin to Colorado plucking primetime away from Jackson State. It makes all the sense in the world, and it's kind of like college football right now is very much still the wild, wild west. For as much as people and schools want to get their arms around NIL and the transfer portal, you're still going to be viewed as that's Deion's program. That's Belichick's program. You don't have as many Nick Sabans in college football now because all of the old guard is out. They just threw their hands up and they said, I don't want anything to do with this. This is not what I'm good at. This is too different for me. It's too radical. Don't like it. Fighting against it. I'm out. You got guys like Belichick saying, no, we can make this work, and I can get these guys prepared for the NFL. And if that's what it's all about at this program, yeah, we'll get you there. Trust me, I have the pedigree. We can get it done. I think if you're North Carolina or if you're any school, that's the pathway to making your program relevant.
It would also be a saving grace here for the ACC. Feels like the ACC, they're lucky to have two teams in, barely. Like, do we give Clemson or SMU any real chance to do anything? No. They got in because of the conference and because they had the automatic berth, and then you made an argument because Alabama lost 3 times. You bring in North Carolina, it's going to be difficult in 2 years to ignore the ACC.
For sure.
Also, hey, it's a conference that is owned by Dabo Swinney right now, the guy who doesn't like the portal.
Right. Doesn't deal with it. Doesn't want to deal with it. The last of the old guard who's digging in his heels. That's an opportunity. If you're Bill Belichick, you exploit that. And you get guys to come and play for you. I think the move makes a lot of sense for both parties, for all parties involved. And now all that's really left is for us to determine who wins the bet. Who wins the bet, Chino? Because I don't think either of us said college football was a pathway for Bill Belichick. It was always about him being on an NFL sideline, breaking Shula's record.
Okay.
As pointed out to us by one of our, not one of our regulars, our top regular, Chris in South Central Kentucky. If his ruling means anything, Chris says it was assumed that Belichick would get back into coaching to surpass Shula. You can't do that in college. So, based on that, my judgment is letter of the law must apply due to setting the NFL record.
Okay. I'm glad he phrased letter of law because you're a you're a man of faith. It's the spirit of the law. Not the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. And the spirit of the law was you were saying he's just going to be on his yacht in Nantucket.
Enjoying
with the
life,
girlfriend,
yeah.
Enjoying life.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. Maybe it's not quite the NFL grind, but it's a grind nonetheless.
Not coaching for an NFL team. The way it looks right now. And our pollster, Pete, on X, you can follow us at the Fan Rochester. He put up the poll. Which one is it? Does it matter if it's a college team or an NFL team? The spirit of the law would say, yeah, it's college football team wins the bet. The letter of the law would say NFL team, and right now, letter of the law is winning 60% to 40%. Sorry, Gino. Maybe you get your vote in there and you even it up.
Yeah, and even remember, today's my birthday. Thanks, people. Oh, Ruben who gets it. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's his birthday?
Yeah, give Danger the wine. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Enjoy this S sandwich, Gene. Pay up.
I am going to have wine tonight, but we're going special, Danger. We're actually going pop. Maybe it's going to be a cracker, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's Tuesday night. This is rare for me.
Ask the executive producer if she'd like to Netflix and chill after you crack open that bottle of wine.
She knew what that meant, and I did not.
Whew.
That's bad. And again, I apologize to anybody I might have inadvertently said that to over the recent years, as I clearly did not know what I was saying.
Fun show this afternoon. Matt Perino, Syracuse.com, covering the Buffalo Bills. He stopped by in the 3 o'clock hours. We continue to dissect the loss to the Rams and now start to look ahead to their matchup against the Lions. Don't worry, we'll have Lions insiders on with us tomorrow and Thursday as we prepare for Sunday's late afternoon matchup in Detroit. Also, Michael F. Florio from NFL Network stopped by last hours. Fantasy football playoffs are upon us. Waiver wire pickups and sit-start questions answered. If you missed either of those two conversations, find the Sports Bar wherever you get your podcasts. Just search us out, and that includes the free-to-download Odyssey app. And also, look for the Fan Rochester on our YouTube page where we stream every day. Our YouTube channel, the Fan Rochester. Like, subscribe, and comment while you're there. We appreciate when you put some wind in the sails. We should get to a round of shots now because we have Amerks head coach Michael Leone joining us before the top of the hour.
Yeah, I didn't have Brett Favre, Mark Gastineau dust-up on my bingo card for today.
It's almost sad.
You haven't heard this audio yet. Part of me is actually wondering, really, ESPN, do we really need to hear this? Because there's a lot of layers to this. We'll get into this. Where did this come from? What was this all about? We'll get you caught up to speed. One player from baseball that you and I grew up with, cancer's come back. Sad news on this. Oh, and we got to talk about the Sabres, I suppose. Maybe not. I'll leave it up to you.
All right. We'll decide. We are going to talk hockey. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, coming up before 6 o'clock as happy hour continues on the Fan. A round of shots next in the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. update.
Bills looking to bounce back after the loss in L.A. And, well, this week's the Super Bowl contender in the Detroit Lions. Head coach Sean McDermott knows this is going to be a challenge.
Very talented when you look at their roster, and I got it a few hours ago, just, their depth chart and their players, and very talented roster. They've done a great job putting that together, and, we're going to have a big challenge for us with that, and then also going on the road.
Practice resuming tomorrow in Orchard Park. Syracuse basketball in action tonight. They're 12.5-point favorites over the Great Danes of Albany. Rochester Americans playing in suburban Montreal tomorrow, taking on the Laval Rocket. Later this hour, we'll talk to Amherst head coach Mike Leone. The Sabres have now dropped 7 in a row. Next up, it's the Rangers on Wednesday night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Check in with Rochester Americans head coach Michael Leone in just a couple few as happy hour continues in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for making us part of your routine, your ride home. Let's get to a round of shots, Gino.
Yeah, I got to appreciate the one Sabre fan who tossed an inflatable palm tree onto the ice.
That's the way to do it.
10 minutes to go, the Sabres up 5-3 on home ice. No one should have felt comfortable. Buffalo drops their 7th in a row, losing in overtime to Detroit 6-5. The loss dropping the Sabres into a tie for 13th place in the conference with those Red Wings. The homestand continuing tomorrow night. The Rangers 7 p.m. for our coverage.
Rangers are struggling too. I know this because my Blackhawks beat them last night, and the Blackhawks are bad, really bad.
Yeah.
So,
feels
like a win?
Maybe.
Feels like a win.
Yes, the St. Louis Cardinals are looking to trade Nolan Arenado. They're saying that. 33-year-old third baseman has a full no-trade clause, so you got to work through that. He's under contract, $25, $32 million. 26, he gets $27 million. And in 3 years in 2027 at $15 million. He's an 8-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove winner. Although he didn't do either in 2024, he batted .272.
What we really need to focus on with this player is his name and his inclusion in the Baltimore accent bracket that we'll be doing with PJ Glasser in the month of March. Nolan Arenado.
Does this not feel like a move the Yankees should make? Like you've had this revolving door at third base, then you move Chisholm over to second. You say, Torres, go somewhere else.
Does.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Yankees don't have the money to spend at this point. They lost out on Soto. Build yourself a core. Go for it.
Yeah, you only have 3 years left on it. Feels okay to me. I hate reading this story. Nearly 4 months after he announced that he was cancer-free, Chicago Cubs Hall of Famer Ryan Sandberg announced that the cancer has returned. It is spread to other organs in his body. He's going to get more treatment. 65-year-old Sandberg revealed in January he had been diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer.
Oh, yeah. 65. Too young. He's a legend. Somebody I remember growing up, I idolized this guy as a baseball player, watching the Cubs, watching Harry Carey on WGN on basic cable when you could see all the Cubs games. And man, it's life is precious. Time is precious. Most valuable commodity. I hate hearing that story.
Yeah, the quote, we lost Alan Harris, too, who was on the Buffalo Bills radio network doing traffic. His quote in recent years is kind of spooky. Time is not in endless supply.
Right.
You think you have a lot, and one day you don't.
That's right.
Few reports out there. A new golf event is in the works for next year. Danger, can I interest you in a live PGA duel in the style of the Ryder Cup? Reporter Matt Vincenzi says that Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau both told him this is actually being worked on. Sounds good. Then again, weren't we supposed to have a merger over a year ago?
Yeah, what happened to that merger? And you could do that. I think that what would be exciting about a live PGA duel in the style of Ryder Cups, I think you would actually have fights. I think there would actually be, like, they're going to drop their golf glove and throw down because I don't know that they like each other. And if you put them together why would the PGA wouldn't agree to this? I don't see how the PGA would say, yeah, we're going to do that, because all it would do is benefit LIV. They're not going to do that.
Unless part of this agreement has LIV owning a piece of the PGA Tour. We haven't factored that in. That's one of the reports out there that LIV could own up to 6% of the PGA Tour moving forward. All the lawsuits go away. And everybody lives.
I just got excited because I saw Tiger Woods going to play with Charlie this weekend. And Charlie's 15 now. And I don't know. for whatever reason, that's enough to scratch my golf itch at this time of year. If I could see Tiger and Charlie swinging the club side by side, to see how similar they look, or to see how Charlie's game is coming along, that's exciting to me.
Finally, I didn't have Brett Favre, Mark Gastineau, a dust-up between these two in my bingo card today, but here we are. There is a new 30 for 30 on the New York Sack Exchange coming out, and they were a lot of fun in the early 80s, were they not, Danger? And
I love Gastineau.
Yeah, for Jet fans, it's been kind of miserable here the last decade and a half here. Gastineau setting the single-season sack record with 22. His record was broken by Michael Strahan. If you remember this, Strahan's final sack came when, Brett Favre essentially laid down.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to play you this cut, and this is from the 30 for 30. And this is from a collectible show in Chicago.
It's got to be the National, right?
Yeah, it's from Chicago. Must have been 2 years ago. Picture this scene. Brett Favre, there's a lot of Packer helmets around him. He's getting ready to sign, and up to him walks Mark Gastineau.
I thought we met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. Dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
The handler coming in right at the end to break that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't like that, man.
I feel like ESPN is actually exploiting Gastineau right now.
I feel like there's probably a lot of CTE in that clip, and I don't like that at all. I just think it's sad.
Is it important to show things like that, though? I'm just asking, though, where we're like, we don't want to see that. I remember in the final days of Marty Schottenheimer, like, that isn't good. Well, this is what Alzheimer's really looks like.
Yeah. Man, Gastineau was such a character. He's one of the first NFL players I remember loving just because of his antics, just because of the sack dance. I wasn't a Jets fan, but I do remember Gastineau. And then, of course, after, as his playing career kind of evolved and he ends up with Brigitte Nielsen, and you see her on Rocky IV, and she becomes this, this Russian
Rocky.
Super, not even close.
Yeah,
great Rocky if you like montages, because that's all it is.
By far.
Constant montage. You're never going to do better than Thunder Lips and Clubber. You're just never going to do better than that. That's as good as it's going to get for that franchise.
For children of the Cold War, that really brought it
Say,
home.
woman, come on over here and I'll show you what a real man is like. Say, woman.
If he dies, he dies.
If you can get along, we can get along. We can all get. It's just one constant montage set to a really cheesy 80s soundtrack. Yeah. No, there is no tomorrow, Rock. There is no tomorrow. Give me 3 over 4 all day, regardless. Brigitte Nielsen ends up with Mark Gastineau, and now in more recent years, Gastineau's health has been kind of failing him a little bit. And man, I didn't need that. I don't need that. That's just a reminder of how fragile life is. It's a precious thing, and both of those guys are going to be going there. Favre's not. That was a clip from probably before Favre came out and said he had Alzheimer's as well, right?
Yeah.
Or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's?
Parkinson's.
I'm sorry. I don't want to misquote, but yeah, rough scene. The 30 for 30 on the New York Sack Exchange is something I'll probably check out, though. Just remember what I loved about Klecko and Gastineau when they were playing together on the defensive line. I don't think those two guys get along at all. Just different cats, two different breeds of cat.
It was controversial at the time. I remember that. It was like sports talk topic made. Is the record real if it happened that way?
I remember the play specifically that we're talking about here. And it was clear that he absolutely took a dive and gave it to Strahan. Totally gave it to him. Is it a legit record still? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's still a legit record.
That has since been tied by T.J. Watt and someone else. But, yeah.
We've got to get to Amerks head coach Mike Leone, get a state of the Rochester Americans next. Before we get to him, let's give away a $50 gift certificate to Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery. Featuring one of Western New York's largest gluten-free menus. In addition to pizza, you could stop by for some of their legendary carrot cake. Sign me up. Chocolate dreamboat cake, handcrafted cookie selections as well at 212 Rochester Street in Avon. Now celebrating their 19th anniversary. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Caller 5 right now at 866-4326 wins a $50 gift certificate to Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery. Caller 5 at 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey. Hear all the action here on The Fan Rochester, including tomorrow night's matchup north of the border in Laval against the Rocket. We welcome in Amerks head coach Michael Leone for a state of the team. And Coach, it's good to have you on with us. Thanks for making some time. We know how busy you are with the team and preparing for tomorrow night. Wanted to go back and look at last weekend because it's a big deal every year when the Amerks travel down to Charlotte. You're jumping on a plane and you're facing stiff competition. What did you guys learn?
Yeah, and last week he said this was the toughest non-divisional team you faced all year. So, Coach, after that, that's a good measuring stick, would you not say?
Yeah, they were really good. The first night, it was actually a pretty close game till kind of the wheels fell off the last 10 minutes of the third period. But yeah, they're really big. They could skate. It almost felt like they had 7 guys on the ice at times. They do a really good job of taking away time and space. They got really good older veteran players and big D-core, good goalie. Tough first game, but really, really proud of the group to go in there and get a big win and finish the week out where we won 2 out of 3 games with the tough travel, and we were really happy.
We were surprised when we heard last month that Devin Levi notched his first professional shutout against Syracuse. He gets another one on Saturday against Charlotte. So talk a little bit about what he's meant, the lift that he's given the team here between the pipes for the Amerks.
Yeah, good goalie always makes a good coach. He does a great. He's very calm. He reads the play well. I think he has a unique ability to make timely saves when it matters the most. There was a couple instances at the game against Charlotte where it's 1-0 and he stops a couple 2-on-1s, and then there's critical moments of the game where his ability to make big saves for our group, and he was outstanding, and he's playing really good for us right now.
Tyson Kozak, he scores his first NHL goal, and kind of a cool moment. His mother's in attendance. I'm not even sure if you even had time to see that. He's back with the team now, correct? And if so, or might we see him come?
He's back. He met us this morning right before we got on the bus.
Tell us a little bit about tomorrow night's opponent, Coach. What do we know about the Rocket here? We faced them a couple of times, and we've had mixed results.
Yeah, no, they're a really good team. They're a veteran group. They got quite a few guys that have played in the NHL, really good goaltending. Really a team that's built to win. I mean, they have really good young talent, but Barb Roulet and their team, he was an 80-point scorer in our league, played in Syracuse last year. He's up with Montreal. Picard was also an NHL guy this year. So it's a really good team, really good special teams, really hard place to play. So it'll be a big test for our group.
Well, as we'd mentioned, longest road trip of the year, although you did come back home in between. I'm assuming you're going to stay north of the border as you get to see Belleville coming up after this. First time since the opening night there, Coach.
Yeah, no, it's we knew, if you look at the last 4 weeks, it's been a long travel, a lot of games on the road, and anytime you're in a stretch like this, it's really important to get points and try to win the week, and we've done a good job of that, and we won the week last week, and it's going to be really important to get points. Obviously, you look at the division, and a 600 winning percentage puts you at right around 4th place, which is it's a really hard division. Belleville's a really good opponent. They find ways to win games. They're tight checking, much like Syracuse. So really important 3-game stretch for us.
Yeah, and just a quick glance at the standings in the North Division. You have Laval and Cleveland with 32 points apiece, tied atop, and then the Amerks here tied with the Marlies, 27 points. And there's Belleville 1 point back, 26 points. So all of these games are going to matter for jockeying position in the standings. But I'm imagining that's not something you're talking to the guys about, that you're just kind of focused on one game at a time, correct?
Yeah. We I think everybody knows, it's really important to, get to Thanksgiving when you're at a certain spot. It's really important to get to the Christmas break. I think it's human nature to look at it, but I think the focus is just to, it's those Wednesday games. It's really, it gets you feeling good if you find ways to win those Wednesday games. And we did it last week. It kind of sets you up for the weekend where you hope to get 2, but if you get 2 out of 3 and you keep doing that throughout the year, you're going to be in a really good spot at the end of the year. And it's really good to get Cozy back too. He's a huge part of our team. I thought he played great in the NHL. He was really responsible. I think if you listen to Coach Ruff talk about him, I mean, he was arguably their best defensive center in the games that he played, and he's been awesome. So we're excited to get him back in the lineup.
Last one for me, Coach, and whenever I get to see your team, I love watching Brett Murray when he's on the power play, just plucking him right down in front at 6'5", and he's been kind of that rock for your team. Just tell us what he's meant so far for your guys.
Yeah, he's a veteran presence, and in this league you need veteran guys that can produce offense, and he's done a really good job of that. If you look at his numbers right now, he's on pace for his career high in goals and points in the AHL, and he's been really steady for us. He has the ability to score timely goals at certain times when you need him, and just the consistency, the effort, and the leadership that he brings every night, especially when you have guys called up, guys out of the lineup, and sometimes like our roster this weekend, we had Zach Metza playing center for a couple periods, wow. And that's the way it goes sometimes, but it says a lot about our group and our leadership group, where no matter who's in the lineup, you find ways to win games and get points.
Mike, it's not lost on me that this is still kind of new for you, right? Like your first season as the Amerks head coach, you're kind of finding your way. What keeps you up at night? Is there something that you've learned here along the way that has been alert? I imagine Metza playing center for you might be one of those things, but is there something specifically that you've learned here through the course of the early part of this season that has kept you up at night?
I think not really kept me up at night. Like I look at this weekend as a really good example. People probably look at the game and we won 3-0 and that it was great and we played good. There's actually games this season, earlier in the season, when we played a lot better and didn't find ways to win. And I think that's a maturity of the group sometimes, where you're not going to be at your best and you find ways to win. But the league I think it's really important to be as consistent as you can in your 5-on-5 play in your team game, that ultimately when it gets harder at the end of the year, that we continue to play with our competitiveness and a level of physicality and structure. And the really good teams that are usually there at the end, they're the best 5-on-5 teams in the league, and they're consistent. And when things get hard, they find ways to get through that. And I think it was I look at the game in Charlotte as a big game for our group. We weren't at our best. They only had a back-to-back. We had 3 and 4. So there was a little, those games you're probably not set up to be at your best, but we found a way to win. And I thought it was a huge game for the group in our maturity and finding ways to win games that are really difficult.
Tomorrow night, we will have the game for you here on the Fan. Rochester, Amerks in Laval, and then it's off to Belleville Friday and Saturday. The team home next Wednesday against Syracuse. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. Coach, thanks for rescheduling here. Really appreciate it. I was hoping maybe it was going to be like a cool story that we were held up at the border here or something like that.
No cool story.
Enjoy your night, Coach. Talk to you next week.
All right, thanks.
There's Mike Leone, Amerks head coach, as the team preparing for Laval tomorrow night here on the Fan. Rochester puck drop at 7 o'clock. We have some breaking news in the sports, but I don't know if you saw this across your feed before.
It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Before we close up shop, we have a signing for the New York Yankees.
I don't see it.
Max Fried.
Ooh. That's a good get.
You're a Yankee fan. You're feeling pretty good about
if
that.
You get Max Fried and then you get Corbin Burns. You should be feeling pretty good about that. Or maybe you go get a real first baseman next year. Yeah.
Ooh. So, yes, that bit of breaking news here is the Yankees come to terms with Max Fried. Let me see here. 8 years, $218 million. That'll work. Fun show this afternoon. Happy birthday to Gene Battaglia.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
Big thank you to Mike Leone, who joined us just now from Laval. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network talks some fantasy football playoffs in the 4 o'clock hour with us. And, of course, Matt Perino, who joins us every Tuesday to talk Buffalo Bills in our 3 o'clock hour. You can find his work at Syracuse.com. You can find our work wherever you search out the Sports Bar. That includes the free-to-download Odyssey app. Check out the YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. We appreciate that as well. And don't forget, you can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play. 95.7 The Fan. Enjoy your night. We're back again tomorrow at 3 o'clock with PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY.